Hello and welcome to the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Cyril Vasquez.
Hi.
Kyle Hilliard.
Hello.
And Jeff Marchiafava.
Hey.
Hey, welcome everybody. Ana Diaz is going to be joining us a little bit later in the show, but we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars Squadrons, the new Star Wars game that was revealed by EA. We're going to go back and talk a little bit more about the PlayStation 5 reveal and just the next-gen wars, because can we even have a podcast from now until November without mentioning the next-gen wars? Because this is the time to celebrate it, baby. We're bathing in it. We're bathing in it, baby. Then we're going to talk a little bit about The Last of Us Part 2. Kyle has promised that there will be 0 spoilers involved.
I've written down notes of specifically spoiler-free things I'm ready to talk about.
Great. I hope you like.
Did you swap that with your notes that say things to spoil? Because those are two very important lists that you can't
have that.
You can't switch up.
And this handwriting is very similar. So
I don't know why you bothered to write those things down if the whole point is to not say them.
Oh, God. Then we're going to be joined by Ana, and we're going to talk about the Pokemon Direct that happened on Wednesday and some very fun and surprising announcements therein, and then some other fun stuff along the way. Clubhouse games, 51 Worldwide Classics, and then back half of the show, of course, is community questions from people that support us on Patreon, that submitted wonderful questions and comments along the way. First of all, I wanted to thank everybody for supporting us in our charity drive. It's our second ever charity drive, and we ended up raising over $17,000 to help rebuild North Minneapolis specifically. All those funds are going to the West Broadway Business and Area Coalition, and it's going specifically to businesses in North Minneapolis that have suffered from recent events in Minneapolis and also are just shutting down because of COVID. So it's a specific good cause, and we're blown away by the amount of support that we got there. We wrapped it up last week. We had a fun live stream where we streamed press conferences from E3 2004. And it was a very fun grand finale to that entire thing. But thank you for everybody that spread the word and donated to that good cause. We really appreciate it. Incredible stuff. And I look forward to doing more charity drives in the future with MinnMax. It's nice to know that even though we're all quarantined, that we can still rally for a good cause here. So it's quite heartwarming. Hey, dear friend of the show, Scott Campbell in the Discord, Mr. Studmuffin himself, he had a post in there that really was accurate in my mind, where he just said, hey, this is really a weird year for Hansen. We got the Final Fantasy VII remake. Sunset Riders came to Switch and PS4. They announced a new Paper Mario, and now a new Pokémon Snap was revealed as well. It's like, it is weird how much of a chasm there is in quality for me from 2020 versus 2019. Forget all of the things in 2020 and forget all of the things in 2019. But just looking at like the game announcements and game releases so far, we didn't talk about it too much in our big game of the year discussions, but 2019 felt really underwhelming for me. It felt like in the last decade, just below a 2014 is kind of the low point for me. And now 2020, I know a lot of this is just playing into nostalgia and stuff like that, and some of these might not even come out in 2020, but it's been a hell of a year for announcements, hasn't it?
For Hansen announcements, yeah.
Well, but even think about it,
Hansen
I saw.
Specifically.
But hang on, but what about like Half-Life Alyx? The fact that is getting released, it just feels like a year where dreams are coming true for a lot of folks out there that have been clamoring for something, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's missing for you? What is the other big tentpole Ben Hansen? A Perfect Dark, I guess, would be the one.
And honestly, I mean, Microsoft's going to have their event in July, and it seems like all signs are pointing towards the initiative working on a Perfect Dark reboot. So if that gets announced next week, I'm just going to walk into the ocean. I'm done. Like that's.
You should start like tweeting like.
Well, you should play it first, right?
No, Cyril. I need to walk into the ocean first.
Just start tweeting like 2020 best year, like hashtag 2020 best year.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Yeah. Get some positivity about the year 2020 out there for once.
Yeah.
Taking a real shellacking so far.
Yeah, we got to do what we can. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the game industry is just trying to counter-program reality and be like, what names can we trot out from the dustbin of history? Hey, look at this. Sunset Riders, everybody. Ignore the racist parts. The rest of it's good.
They were worried specifically about you, Hansen.
I think so, yeah.
We got to get this Hansen guy happier.
Yeah, you're right, man. But let's see. This week, EA had their EA Play live stream on Thursday, we're not going to cover it on this episode of the podcast, but if you want to know what we think about it or what I think about it and maybe a special guest or two, you can tune into MinnMax's YouTube channel because we'll be live streaming our reactions on Thursday at 6 p.m. Central. So that should be fun. They're going to show gameplay for Star Wars Squadrons, which they announced earlier this week on Monday. So Star Wars Squadrons is both 5v5 deathmatch style, and then also it has some sort of single-player campaign, and it's, hey, you're dogfighting in Star Wars seems like the spiritual successor to the X-Wing TIE Fighter games that people have been hoping for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, my initial, I guess it's just a point of reference, but like my point of reference is Rogue Squadron, more so than like X-Wing TIE Fighter, but that's just probably my age. So that was like my first reaction. I was like, oh, something akin to Rogue Squadron. I'm eager to play something like that again,
Yeah, I was so eager seeing this. It's like, oh, you know what? I haven't really followed Battlefront 2, and this is being developed by EA Motive, who did a lot of work on Battlefront 2 along with Criterion and stuff like that. So I actually installed Battlefront 2 again to check out, because there's a multiplayer mode where it's just aerial combat. And I played that for a bit, and then I was like, okay. Like, it was a little bit underwhelming. It's pretty simplistic in Battlefront 2 at least, but I love flying in games. I love, pilot fiction, one of the greatest genres of all time. And so I'm excited to see what they do in this standalone game. So I'm really looking forward to it. Plus, they did tease a U-Wing from Rogue One in the trailer, which everybody knows is underrated Star Wars ship.
Is it Patrick?
It is Mr. Patrick himself, Patrick Ewing. Jeff, are you interested in this thing at all? It's coming out this year.
Yeah, a little. I think that kind of subgenre of Star Wars game I've always kind of been lukewarm on, but I've still played a surprising number of them, and it's kind of one of those things I don't get super hyped about, but when I play it, they're always fun times.
Right.
And they deliver a very specific Star Wars fantasy. I would rather have the Star Wars RPG running around with a lightsaber fantasy, but this one, they're always solid games for me.
Yeah, and so
I'm coming from the other side where I like arcadey flight sims, but there just haven't been that many of them, or at least recently. But I like that idea. I don't know that I'm hoping the single player campaign is more than like, hey, let's do a couple levels that are for single player that kind of use the same structure as the multiplayer, and then the real draw is multiplayer. But it seems like if it's a lot of the people worked on Battlefront, that seems like that's going to be the case where the multiplayer is the big deal. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the single player half of that game.
Yeah, like the cutscenes in Battlefront 2 story were really well done, and it is that weird idea of thinking about how far they can push the story here, and it's like, okay, well, art assets for these types of games, I'd imagine a little bit cheaper than most. A lot of it's just empty space. I know there's art going into the background of the ships. There's a lot of work going into this game, but like I think it does give them some wiggle room for maybe they can tell a little bit more of an ambitious story than in an actual focused third-person action game or something like that, if they had to crank that out at a pretty quick clip.
Well, that trailer to me implied that there would be like scenes of groups of people discussing things, which is where it gets complicated for making story. But
that's true. So even for like the cutscenes, just rendering the backgrounds and stuff, but still rendering environments to run around, unless you can get out of the ships. But we'll find out by watching that EA Play thing. But have you guys had more thoughts on the reveal of the PlayStation 5 since last week's podcast? We're coming in pretty hot just seeing that thing. How has everybody been sitting with the design, with the games, with the news?
Still don't love the design of the hardware.
Okay.
Yeah. I recently saw... Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but like I do appreciate that it's like weirder than Series X and is like fostering more communication and more funny photoshops and stuff like that. I like that element.
I like that it's very memeable.
Yes, exactly.
Somebody in a PlayStation boardroom said that at some point. Like when they saw the design, like, oh, maybe it'll capture the meme market.
That's good memes.
Oh, that's good memes.
But yeah, I saw someone posted a photo. I'm not sure how they got like a hold of it, but they had a PS5. And then they had it like to scale. They had an Xbox One X and then a Switch Lite, and it apparently seems a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's true. So the way
is considerably larger.
Yeah, the way they did that, which is one of those very simple things I never would have thought of. It was just, we just lined up all the disc trays, because in theory they're all going to be roughly the same size for all these different systems. So yeah, I think like IGN and other folks have made like a lineup of all the consoles, and the PS5 it actually is taller than the Tower of Sauron, which is shocking.
Right? Which is, it's hard to fit that behind your entertainment system, but it's something to aspire to.
I feel I've been shocked that more people aren't in this camp, but I think it looks better horizontally. Like, I'm looking forward to having that thing lay down horizontally. I've heard some people say it looks hideous laying down horizontally. It's like, that seems way better to me visually.
I don't think it looks bad horizontally. It just looks like the disc slot looks to be under a lot of. It just looks like it's all being mushed onto the disc slot, which is of course probably not a thing that actually happens. It just looks weird when it's on its side. But I think the all digital one actually looks pretty cool when it's on its side.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Who was it? Sherrod. Let's see. Sorry, I don't have the name. The vice president of user experience design at PlayStation, Matt McLaurin, was like responding to people on his LinkedIn account, asking questions about PlayStation 5.
Oh, McLaurin, don't do it.
McLaurin.
By saying sorry.
Well, they said like they were asking him why is it so much bigger, and he said thermals. This gen is little supercomputers. While the 7nm process delivers amazing heat performance for the power, the power is very extreme. So he's saying it's just to not be as loud. I guess the thing's a lot bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he said, I understand. I like this quote. I understand it's not for everyone, but no good art is. Still, I think it's refined enough to tuck away quietly. The additions are going to be lit. So
additions?
There you go, guys. It's going to be lit.
Hang on, he said addition. Oh, not.
I think like special editions and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, I was hoping it was ADD because like, are they going to be doing a little bit more? Because Crater,
like 32x games on this one.
Yeah, Crater submitted a question. We'll just get to right now. He says, "Hey there, CLCs. Do you think the PlayStation 5 reveal event was the last nail in the coffin for the rumored full backwards compatibility from the PlayStation 1 onward? Not only did they not mention it at all, but the release of an all-digital edition is a bad sign to me. Why make the hardware fully backwards compatible if a significant number of systems won't even have the disk drive to take advantage of it? What are your thoughts? Is the dream dead?"
No.
That's a great point, though.
Yeah. I don't think it's dead, but it's a good point. Yeah.
It's tricky because...
I never really thought about that in terms of having the digital only edition, which doesn't necessarily rule out backwards compatibility because they may just be thinking about it from, the PlayStation Store side of things.
So you'd still have some PS3 stuff in there.
And you can still get it, but if you have to pay, if you had a mostly physical game collection up until this generation, then having to pay extra just to kind of carry that over, if that's even a possibility, I can see how that's a bummer.
Yeah, and I worry about this just being one of those things. If people saw the patent, people are talking about it so much and it's snowballing in the industry to the point now, if the PlayStation 5 doesn't have full backwards compatibility for the entire PlayStation history lineup, people are going to be like, why'd you take it away, Sony? I think people are expecting it, and it's scary because everybody wants it so badly. And so you think like, okay, well, now maybe it's a better reason for them to charge a higher price for the version with the disc drive, because there's always the debate about how much that's actually going to take off the price tag by actually having the digital edition out there. But then the part that gives me pause on that, it's like, okay, well, maybe if it'd be slightly different hardware-wise to allow for this, unless it's all software-based emulation. But the point is that Jim Ryan, in an interview, the head of Sony here, he said, or of PlayStation specifically, he says that the hardware is the same. Like, technically, things are the same across the all-digital versus disc-based versions. So like, okay.
The only difference is literally just the disc drive.
I believe that's what he said. Yeah, so that gives me pause again about like, God, maybe this might not be real. But maybe it's all software-based or something, and he's not factoring that in. It's not that it's 100% dead, but somebody's sneaking up behind the stream with a pistol at this point, I'd say.
Well, I could see them be like that justifying like $100 difference in that case, because because a disc cloud is not a super expensive thing to throw in there. Because it feels like this stuff, like the backwards compatibility stuff notwithstanding, it feels like that would be maybe a $50 price difference. But if the idea that like, and you can play your PS4 and PS3 games on this disc drive, that ups the value of that disc drive significantly. So that would justify, well, like the one with the disc drive is worth $600, but if you just want to play the new games, you can play it for $500 or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I think this is definitely, if it is true, it's not that they would have revealed it at this event, and they're probably saving that for more of a deep dive into the UI, stuff like that, talk about systems features. And so I'm sure that's going to be another live stream, state of play, whatever the hell they want to call it in the future. So it's another good beat for them to hit later on.
Yeah. It didn't necessarily have to be at this announcement because it was so focused on, their upcoming slate of games anyway. We didn't learn that much about hardware, right, or any other features.
Yeah.
In that show. So
Jake Zielsdorf also wrote in, submitted a comment or a question on Patreon. He says, "Hey, please tell me what the PlayStation 5 launch lineup will be and lock it in, because I need to know."
Well, we're happy to reveal.
Well, honestly, it helps a little bit. After the big stream last week, it was just a scattershot of exciting games, but trying to figure out what's actually going to be there at launch. And there's still some wiggle room because these are just labeled as holiday 2020. So one of them could be later November or something like that. Depends on when this whole thing launches. But IGN has a list here if you all want to run down it to just imagine yourself playing these games.
Yeah.
This holiday.
Is that link? Or are you going to say it? Or how
what's that, Suriel?
How do you want us to look at the list?
I'm going to say it. I want you to look at it by just imagining the words that are coming out of my mouth and processing them in your brain through your ears. You ready?
These are the games that are confirmed. They said this year. They said
announced for holiday 2020.
It's safe to put those next to the PlayStation 5, but things could change.
Yes, and the launch window, it's always a little bit confusing. Okay, so totally. This year on your PlayStation 5, you could be playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Astro's Playroom, Bugsnax, Chivalry 2, Deathloop, Dirt 5, Fortnite, Godfall, Gods and Monsters, which, by the way, did you see that? God, who was it? Somebody tweeted from Ubisoft saying that Gods and Monsters isn't even called that anymore.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell a different story.
Oh, no. What's the other story?
A demo of it went up online for half an hour, and it was a totally unfinished, just E3 build that just was missing all kinds of stuff. But there was a 30-minute window where people were able to get at it.
And it was through wild. Stadia, right?
Yeah.
It's such a mess. But yes, I think in response to that, someone from Ubisoft said a lot of things have changed. It's an old build. It's not even called Gods and Monsters anymore. So they have their Ubisoft jump to the future event, whatever the hell they're calling it. That's going on in July.
Forward, I think it's just called.
What is it?
I think it's just Ubisoft Forward.
Okay, well, I'm Ubisoft looking forward to that in July. But also we have Jet, The Far Shore, Holiday 2020, Madden NFL 21, NBA 2K 21, Observer, Oddworld, Soulstorm, Outriders, Quantum Error, I don't know what that is, Redo, Enhanced Edition, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ultimate Fishing Simulator 2, this is the ultimate one, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, Watch Dogs Legion, still in theory Holiday 2020, and WRC 9 also in 2020. Yeah, I mean, I was initially a little bit bummed that Horizon Forbidden West wasn't announced as 2020. I think everybody, this is again the problem with the internet just rolling with things, and probably on this podcast me repeating Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is totally going to be a launch game. Not a launch game. They confirmed in a video on Wednesday that the game is, quote, aiming to release in 2021.
Oh, wow.
So even that's a little bit iffy.
It's a big target.
Yeah. Our highest hopes are hitting 2021.
Okay.
Did you all think... I've been thinking a lot about the games that had the biggest impact from the PlayStation 5 reveal event. I talked about it in MinnMax, our Patreon exclusive podcast, talking about the crazy impact of Bugsnax in a stupid Twitter culture way where people are still tweeting about that song and just how absurd that game is. It's kind of entered this weird beloved territory already. I was thinking, I don't know if I saw as much hype for Horizon Forbidden West as I would expect.
I think a lot of that is just because it was kind of expected, right? I don't think there was anyone who was crazy surprised by it. And we didn't get to see a lot of hey, here's what's new and cool about it. The environments are obviously very different, but it felt like there wasn't a ton of surprising details in that trailer of now you can do this, now you can fly, or now they have you can swim across channels or whatever the west part of it kind of implies.
What are you talking about?
Because there were a lot of rivers there, so I wonder if they had any traversal along that kind of thing.
Oh, well, they showed the underwater,
Yeah, so if that's a big part of the game now or whatever, they didn't go in depth, right? So
yeah, it is just a weird thing where I think everyone's really, really looking forward to that, but I don't know if it was the most hype generating trailer that they could have produced. It felt kind of cool, but still vanilla cool. Maybe I'm just overthinking ways to deflate Horizon Forbidden West. But in that new video that they put up yesterday, they added a few more tiny details. Gorilla did. They said that there's a new tribe in the West that can convert machines. You saw that shot of them like converting the boar and stuff like that. They're one of the evil tribes. Turns out the giant turtle thing that stood up out of the swamp in a very God of War style, they're called shell snappers. The crocodile things underwater are called snap maws. And the pterodactyls are called sunwings, which is very good.
Not snap wings.
Don't be confused. These are sun wings, my son. And then also, like Jeff talked about last week, the idea is there's something called the red blight that's starving all the animals and tribes, and it's also making the weather seem out of control, which is something I didn't notice in that original trailer. But if you look in the background, like the clouds are just going nuts. So expect some crazy weather effects as well in Horizon Forbidden West.
I mean, it's Moana, right? It's like the plot of Moana.
Oh, also, yeah, in that Sony video, they said, this is just Moana. So please look forward to it. Speaking of which, Bethesda, after the stream last week, posted more details on their blog about Deathloop. And they say, let's see, we've mentioned the time loop a few times, right? And you probably already have a picture in your head. Groundhog Day, right? Well, sure. Deathloop is Groundhog Day if every time February 2nd started again, Phil found himself hounded by every maniac in the vicinity, and instead of breaking the loop by getting the girl and learning to live unselfishly, he could only escape by taking out a lot of people. So yeah, just like Groundhog Day. He wrote.
That's very edgy.
And then they also
really likes Groundhog Day and knows the plot of that movie really well.
It's a very complicated plot, too.
Yeah.
But in that blog post, they also confirmed what we've been talking about since E3 last year, the idea that Juliana, who's the female assassin, that she is playable. And so you can jump into other players' games and play as her and try and take out Colt, the main character. So it's not like you're choosing the campaign who you want to play as, but you can choose to just jump in, pop in, try and shoot some actual players who are trying to make progress in this time loop and then jump back out. So they said that they expect in the final game that Juliana character is going to be partly AI controlled. Then whenever somebody jumps in, it'll be controlled by a human. So it'll keep it more unpredictable, which is a fun idea.
Can you turn that off?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And then she just stands there doing nothing. Wait, you don't want that? I think it'd be really fun to. It's a journey-like thing of just not knowing who else is out there.
If you've played Dark Souls at all. Yeah.
How frustrating would it be to be like 90% of the way through it, and then some guy who's super good at, shooters comes in and wastes you from across the map?
That sounds like a fun story. Like, I'm going to get shot in the head probably no matter what. And
that's a fun story the first time it happens, and then every other subsequent time it starts happening. Like, it's just frustrating.
You can't just paint worst case scenarios for Deathloop.
But that's what's going to happen. If they introduce a multiplayer component, that's a thing that's going to happen regularly. I don't think it's going to be like every once in a blue moon there will be a player in your game. I guess it's all a matter of like how common is that?
I mean, to approach it a little more positively, like it is interesting. I think there are people who will like that. I don't like that mechanic personally. Like I turn it off in Dark Souls. I don't like players coming into my game and ruining my progress and what essentially feels like a single player experience.
Yeah.
So I will turn that off, and I think it's smart that they have the choice to turn it off.
Well, there we go. More bug snacks facts for everybody. There was a US Gamer interview that went up on Wednesday, and in that they said that the game is like Ape Escape, which made me much more excited about it, and that there's like 100 different bug snacks that you can run around and try and capture, assess, analyze, however the hell that works out.
Were they really excited about dual analog? Or they're like, oh man.
Yeah, half the interview they just talked about the dual analog stick, which is really weird.
We really lobbied for them to put twin analog sticks in the dual sense. It turns out we didn't have to do any work. They just said, yeah, we already have them. What are you talking about?
Custom bug snacks controller with two analog sticks.
Analog sticks.
And then also Insomniac tweeted out, they just tweeted it out, that Lombax in the trailer for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, that's a playable character.
And female. They said that too.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So there we go, everybody. So yes?
You
cut out again.
Oh, I cut out. I had a very insightful thing that I was saying.
Go ahead.
I guess in the past Ratchet games, female Lombaxes do not have tails, and this one had a tail. So that's why everyone was like confused and curious about the gender.
Well, in the regular dimension, but in the other dimension, that's like the big difference is that they've got tails.
What a wild world.
Wait and see.
Hey, I was thinking about this. Do you guys think with the white color scheme so far for PS4, do you think there's a universe where the game cases for the PlayStation 5 are white?
Oh, maybe.
Does anybody want to gamble?
Let's see. So PlayStation 3 was clear.
I think it shifted.
It was like silver clear.
Yeah.
Like that.
And then PS4 was blue.
Yep.
And they're occasionally red with like the greatest hits versions. White. I would say white is a pretty good bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they'll stick to blue, but
I think it could just be like a darker blue, even because it's like there seems like their color scheme is that white and kind of the darker blue overall.
it could even go two-tone on the boxes.
Right.
Was that Kyle?
I was just saying Xbox still green though, right?
I don't know. Actually, if you look at the Xbox Series X reveal trailer, they don't really hit green in a big way. Although there's interesting B tier.
There's the light in the top that's green, right?
Oh, that is true. That is true. Tom Warren on Twitter. Who is he with?
Mrs. Warren?
Yeah. Oh, senior editor at The Verge. He tweeted that he says, I can confirm that the Xbox Series X dashboard will be the same as the Xbox One. Microsoft is adding some additional stuff in there for the console features, but the UI and dashboard will be the same between consoles. But obviously, speed and performance will also be improved. It's just a good lay the land of the difference between these consoles. I love that idea of Microsoft's like, yeah, why would we change it? I don't know. It'll still be just one ecosystem, so why make it drastically
still
broken?
Different? Continue to not fix it.
How dare you? No, you're going to be called a Sony pony for days, Kyle.
That's fine. You can look at my like hours played. I play on Xbox a lot more.
Here, let me bounce. Like sometimes the PS4 UI is kind of really hitchy for me, and this is especially true when I try to play anything that's like huge in file size. Like Destiny usually always makes the system UI hitch up. There you go. Now both people will comment and they'll cancel each other out.
Yeah. How long have you been married to the Master Chief over there, Surreal?
Xbox Jaques.
We're happily married. Thank you.
Oh, good. Congratulations. I'm sorry.
I only wake him when I need him.
Hey, the PlayStation 5, a lot of debate about the price of this sucker. I think we should stamp it in our predictions of what this thing is actually going to cost.
Okay.
All right. Jeff Marchiafava. For now, and you will have to forever. $500?
Okay.
For the one without the disc.
Oh.
I'm saying they're breaking the 500 for the disc one.
Wait, so you're going $599, $499?
Yeah. But, yeah.
Do you think they would?
Let's go for it.
I mean, this is, again, maybe focusing too much on internet culture, but do you think they would hit that $599 price point again for being, I mean, I feel like just to dodge that, they would try and just sell it at like $589 just so they don't have to hit that PS3.
Yeah, sure. Or, $550, whatever. But I feel like 500 is going to be the baseline for them. And that will be the one that doesn't have the disc, which I think is just fine for Sony.
Yeah.
They'd be more than happy if you bought that one, I think.
Yeah, so just for frame reference, that's what the Xbox One X sold for out of the gate. I think still currently is $500. I think the discless, I think is going to be $400.
$399.
Yeah, I think it's going to be $399. Yeah, that'll be my prediction. And then disc, I'll go $479.
Weird. Strange price.
Wait, did I mess that up?
No, but I mean, it's usually in the 99 and 49s, right? Like I think. Well, how much was the Wii?
Okay, let's
Wii
go. Okay, you're right. Let's go $399, $499.
Okay.
Other predictions out there?
I mean, I think $599 for the disc. I think it's getting up to $6, and then I think maybe I'm going to say so $599. And then $549 for no disc, I think. So not as big a gap as we think is my prediction.
Okay.
I'm going to say $549 for the discless and $600 for the one with the disc.
Just that $50 difference. Do you think they would do that? That just seems like
I was going to ask, how much is a 4K Blu-ray player.
I actually did. I was looking it up just a second ago. I looked on Amazon, and they range from about like 70 to 90 on Amazon for a Blu-ray, like a USB Blu-ray player that you can plug into your PC.
4K.
You know what? I don't know about 4K. That might actually bump the thing up significantly. That's a good point.
But if you think about it, like
I don't
the
even know if they
Xbox,
sell them separately like that. So,
like the Xbox One X can do that, and that's selling for $500.
Well, I don't want to be exactly like Fava's prediction, so I'm gonna keep mine.
All right, we'll see who's closest. Kyle, are you ready to talk about The Last of Us Part 2?
I'm not.
So here's the thing. Kyle, you are taking a solemn vow not to tease, not to flirt, not to dance around. This is spoiler-free impressions. But Jeffem, what is your stance here?
I don't want any impressions. I haven't seen any reviews. I've stayed as clean as I can. I have a completely sterile, germ-free room that I'm going to play it in for the deepest dive. So I don't even want to know if Kyle likes it or whatever.
Okay, great. And just a reminder before you turn off the headset and stuff, the deepest dive is going to be airing next week. That's going to be covering everything in the game for approximately the first 6 hours or so up until Seattle Day 2. Kyle, do you think that's a clean line? People will know when they're at Seattle Day 2?
Big time. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
very clear.
When you get to Seattle Day 2, stop, and then you can, if you support us on Patreon at any tier, you can leave a comment for us to read for the huge Community Field Game Club. We're going to have the post looking for those comments on Monday, and then Wednesday, the actual big discussion will air. So please look forward to that, and help tell a friend. We'd appreciate it. This is going to be a really interesting discussion based on everything I've seen. But Jeffem, what are you going to do? You're just going to mute your computer?
I'm just going to turn down my volume, and I'm not going to look at Kyle's square too much because I'm afraid that his face might give me hints at something I don't want to know.
Okay, great. All right, good to know. Kyle, how much have you played?
I haven't beaten it, but I would guess about 75%. Like
really?
I probably have like 2 more sessions and I'm probably done.
Wow. Do you feel like you've been marathoning it? Is it tough to put down, or it seems fast?
Oh, it's all I want to play. I would probably be playing it more if it is a very, I mean, you know, it's hard to play that game because it takes like separating myself from my kid and like wanting to focus entirely on it. Like there are some, like Final Fantasy VII was a game that was like easier to just play whenever I wanted because it's like a PG-13 movie, but this is like a hard R. so it's like I'm staying up later playing it and stuff like that, but it's all I want to play right now. It's like everything else has been sidelined in a big bad way.
Okay, how is it?
So I really like it. To just set that table there. It's one of those things. It's funny because Jeffem doesn't want to hear any impressions of any kind.
Yeah.
And I totally relate to that because remember when Toy Story 4 came out, and it took me a while to see it. And I was like, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know if you like it. I don't know if you didn't like it. So I totally sympathize with Jeffem there. And it's funny because Toy Story 4 plays in it again because even when they announced it, like I wasn't sure if I wanted a sequel to The Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
Like in the same way Toy Story 4 is like, I think that ended perfectly. I don't know if I really am compelled to revisit that world or anything like that.
Jeffem has no idea that you're talking about Toy Story 4 right now.
I know. I got to start doing stuff like this and like... But
I like that he's still watching even though he can't.
Yeah, exactly. But it took very little time for me to be like, oh yes, I absolutely want to be back in this world. It justifies its existence very quickly. It was one of those things where it's like, even before starting, I was like, oh, well, I love that first game. I don't really know if I want to go back into that. And it's like within an hour, I'm like, okay, this should exist, and I'm happy that it's here.
Yeah. Visually, I assume just impeccable.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's like there are like even watching the footage for it in that recent stream, like there were little tiny moments where you're like, oh, this is a PS4 game, and we're a few years into the PS4 cycle, but like the thing that Naughty Dog does so well is just really small animation, and like that stuff just shines. Like and it also feels like it's much more claustrophobic than the first game in a good way.
Oh, weird.
Like the camera feels like it's closer in general, whether that's like in cutscenes or during gameplay, or like like Ellie can like climb under cars and stuff like that, and like the camera gets in really tight, and like it really you get to see all the little things that she's doing and the face twitches that she's doing and other characters are doing and stuff like that. So like that's Naughty Dog is so good at that, and it's totally here, like 100%.
Yeah.
How loud is your PS4?
So I'm playing on a Pro, and it hasn't been too bad. And the loading is actually like surprisingly quick. Like when you die, you're right back into the action. There's it's like a GTA style, like one big load right when you start that probably takes like 2 to 3 minutes. But like otherwise it's very quick. Like dying is not too punishing because you can get right back into the action.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice.
Other big takeaways?
Let's see. Like the world building is really good, like in the sense that I feel like I understand that world much better. It's not like you get more history of what's happening or anything like that. I don't care about the virus. I don't want to know more details. It doesn't really give you more details. But just like seeing how people live their life, I feel like they take time to give that room to breathe and stuff like that. And you also like, the other thing I like about it is you get a sense that like, you know, you went with Joel and Ellie on this incredible journey in the first game. And because of that, you sort of play the second game and you're like, you know, she's something special. Like they went through something, and you kind of learn that like they're not that special. Like if you are alive in that world, you are a survivor and you've had to go through some like awful stuff. And Joel and Ellie are not the only ones who have gone through awful stuff. And I liked that idea of just like it's that opposite power fantasy of like, you know, you think of like, well, I'm Ellie, like I've done so much in my life, and then you just talk to someone, they're like, oh no, I've done just as much worse. You know, like this, my life is very similar to yours. You know,
I like the idea of the game opening like Naughty Dog logo, and then in Wyoming or whatever, and it slowly zooms in on Ellie, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Ellie. I've done so much in my life." This is the first line. You know? I didn't want to spoil anything, but yes, that is how the opening of the game is.
Oh man,
She's writing in her
"I'm
journal.
Ellie" monologue.
She's writing in her journal and talking out loud to herself. I'm so badass.
Yeah, Ellie, totally the person at this point who would keep a journal. But you mentioned sliding in her cars, but do you feel like the gameplay side of it iterates on that stuff? Because I recently went back through The Last of Us, and that was still the part that to me was like, this is functional and occasionally like satisfying when you get through an area without being seen. But for the most part, it just feels like I'm getting through this so I can see the next cutscene.
Yeah, and you know, I've been thinking about that a lot because I've definitely had those moments. Like when I think of, it's kind of hard not to compare Last of Us and Uncharted when it comes to Naughty Dog games, and I definitely pretty handily like Last of Us's gameplay more. Like it's a much more satisfying process of picking people off and being sneaky, and if things go wrong, like getting away and getting back into stealth is much more fun. And there have been those moments where I'm like, I just want to get through. There's like 6 guys here. This is going to take forever, you know? But I don't know if that's a fault of the game necessarily, as much as it's just the story is so good and the writing is so good and like the cutscenes are so well done that those become the highlights. Like those are the rewards for getting through the combat. So like, it's tough to say that it's like I don't think it's like bad. It's fantastic, but I have had those moments where I'm like, all right, let's get through this. Like to the point where I'm even like, can I just sprint past these guys just to get to the next cutscene? Usually you can't. So,
but it's like you haven't seen anything that, you know, kind of piques your interest or is like, okay, this is new. I haven't seen this before. Or like, do you feel like it improves on any of the gameplay stuff in the first?
It doesn't feel like a huge innovator in that way, but it is like improvements across the board. You know what I mean? Like everything feels a little better. The RPG systems are really compelling and like they are substantial when you upgrade yourself or your guns, which I like, you know, and it makes like searching everything much more rewarding. But there's nothing that's been like, oh, wow, this is so much better than the first game or anything like that. It's all been very like, oh, yeah, this is better. They improved on this, which was already pretty good to begin with.
How often are you moving a trash bin into a wall so you can climb on that thing and then you can climb up to the next thing on top of that?
I've done that more than once.
Interesting. All right.
What about ladders?
You know, I don't know if I've encountered any ladders or not.
What?
Yeah. One thing I wrote down, it's on that topic specifically. So there are a handful of puzzles, which you could call like the moving the trash bins around and stuff. And and maybe you can answer this question for real. Were there a lot of like puzzles in the first game, or was it all just like move this to make a step here?
There weren't a ton of, I think most of the puzzles were like what object in this room do I need to put next to a wall, basically, or like some sort of higher up area, so I can plant it there and climb up. And like, I need to grab this, I need to plant this ladder here, and then grab it when I'm up there, so I can move the ladder forward, so I can basically leapfrog using this one ladder. Or like, how do I move Ellie around in the water using a pallet? Like that world, it runs off pallets basically in the first game, because that's those were activity.
Ellie knows how to swim now, so that's an improvement.
But
yeah, the handful of like puzzles in that regard of like, okay, I need to figure out how to get from down on the ground to up here are really well done, and I really like them, and they feel really integrated in the environment. I don't walk into an area and I'm like, okay, I probably got to get up there. Is there a trash can I got to move nearby? It usually involves like, I got to make sure this door opens in the right way or something like that, or using the rope to like swing in certain areas. I enjoy solving the puzzles because like so few of them feel like I've walked into a puzzle room. They really feel integrated in the environment very well, and they use them sparingly. There aren't a lot of them. So like when they're there, it's usually a moment where you've just gone through something insane and you need a little breather. So to take a little time to figure out how to get this door open, like I think it's placed really well, and I think that is an improvement over the first game in a big way.
I know you haven't finished it yet. Do you have a conclusion in your mind though, or just a statement about like, God, this is what?
I mean, you could say this about a lot of Naughty Dog games, but like even if you have qualms with the story, which I'm sure people will, because it's a lot of people making bad decisions in a really a world that's just hard to exist in. Yeah. Like even with that like caveat, I guess you could say, like they run circles in terms of like performance capture and storytelling and writing around everybody, and it's just like it makes other games. They're embarrassing everybody else. Like really, like it's so good. I mean, like I've teared up like multiple times, and I'm not even like at the conclusion of the game yet, and it's just like like I can't imagine anyone starting this game and just not having like I can't not finish this game, right. Early too. Like it really gets the ball rolling pretty early in the game.
That's going to be interesting. Dan Trachtenberg, who is the director of like 10 Cloverfield Lane. He was the director of the Uncharted movie before he was taken off. He should have seen that coming, by the way. It's just still rotating through a director every 4 months for the Uncharted movie. But he tweeted this, and I want to just run it by you, Kyle. He said, okay, I've played The Last of Us Part 2. It's a master's piece, referring to, of course, Neil Druckmann, but also every department head, artist, craftsman, QA, etc. Masters working at the highest level one can work. The acting is some of the best I've seen across any medium. The incredible sound design makes the graphics look better. One of the most well-told stories in the history of storytelling. There's countless would you kindly moments. It's hideous and beautiful. I've never felt more alive while experiencing a story from any other medium than I had with The Last of Us Part 2. Now, it's a bit much, but to what degree is it a bit much?
A lot of hyperbole in there, obviously, but like, I don't think he's crazy. Like I don't like the performances and some of the sequences are just like incredible. Like it's just like it blows my mind. Like, and I think it is a factor of like the actors doing amazing work, and then also the animators just like multiplying it by tenfold, and it's just like it's tough to say too much about the story and why it's really interesting.
Please don't.
Yeah, but it's like there are things about it where I've had those moments. I'm like, I don't know if comparing it to a lot of other media, if I've ever really felt this way about characters or choices that are being made or the way the story is being told. So I don't think that's an insane tweet by any means. Like I think, and it's also that thing of like video games have that ability to like invest you in a story more because you have full control over the character, and like it's recognized here and used to a great degree. You know what I mean? And also like even things like playing with your perceptions of how a video game should work in the favor of story. Like there's stuff that happens in that regard too. So
Serial, Connor wrote in just for another community question here. He says, when The Last of Us Part 2 reviews went live, there was an almost immediate backlash from all sides. Has the conversation surrounding the game the past few days affected your feelings towards it at all? Do you have any thoughts on how other people are responding? Like, has the reaction and seeing the reviews out there changed your anticipation or anything else going into it for the deepest dive?
It's been kind of mixed, I think, for me in terms of my personal reaction to what I'm going to get into, because I'm pretty skeptical of Naughty Dog games usually, in that I kind of find them like I think the storytelling part of them is usually like fantastic, but I always feel like I have to suffer through gameplay. And playing through The Last of Us again, I kind of like the story a little bit less for spoilery reasons, but going into this, I saw people who were skeptical of the first game really giving this one a lot of praise. So that was like the first thing where I was like, okay, maybe this is maybe fixing some of the issues I had with The Last of Us, and maybe moving things forward and actually like reaching kind of like that next level of appreciation that people always tend to find in these games that I personally usually don't. But I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of hyperbolic tweets like that one, and just the regular backlash of like I think like people not giving it 10s, being immediately attacked by the internet,
right,
by people who have not played the game. So that's always fun to see. So it's been this weird mix of like, for me, it always feels like, we've gone through this multiple times. For me personally, of like, Uncharted gets a bunch of 10s, and I'm kind of like less enthused about it. Last of Us Part 2 or Last of Us Part 1 gets a bunch of 10s, and I'm kind of less enthused by it. But there are specific notes here that I'm seeing from people who kind of share my taste in games that makes me think that this will be a step up in that regard.
Yeah. So I was laughing as you're speaking, just thinking about Jeffem. He's even a good listener when he's not listening. Look how intent he is. And I think, hey, Jeffem, come back to us.
Real quick. Everything outside the field of the camera, that's just blood everywhere, right? Like,
it's just a mess.
Like his kill room,
he's
right?
a big freak. Yeah. You're good to go, Jeffem. Come back. So again, join us for the deepest dive if you want to join this conversation and contribute in creating the best, most thorough discussion about The Last of Us Part 2 on the internet. That's the goal for the deepest dive, and that's going to be kicking off next week. We'll be looking for your feedback on the game's first 6 hours or so to Seattle Day 2 on patreon.com/MinnMax2ends. Jeffem, are you with us?
That was terrifying. And there were so many.
Play the game, you'll see how scary it truly is.
Yeah, I could tell. Ellie has really big shoulders,
Damn
and
it!
she eats lots of corn on the cob.
Mm-hmm.
And then
It turns to Mad Max about halfway through, so everyone starts bulking up with like big spikes and stuff.
You have to believe about that part where Kyle mentions the pyramid spaceships that come in and they're going to destroy everything, but then the stranger comes in, and that's a really cool plot beat.
Yeah, Pyramid Head's there is too.
That's right, yeah. One of them is just a giant pyramid head that can fly using his head. Yeah.
Hey, Joker Squad, bunch of laughy boys. Do you guys hear that? Ana Diaz, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay. Let's see. You were on your first episode of The Great Goaty Hunt, I guess, which is weird. On Tuesday, we streamed it on Twitch. You can follow us there. And then it goes up on YouTube. Went up on Wednesday. We're playing Among Trees, the new survival game on the Epic Game Store. Did you have a takeaway, either you or Jeffem, after watching over an hour of Among Trees?
The bears can talk.
That's right. If we reached any conclusions, is that bears are eloquent creatures. It turns out it's just an hour of bear facts and people commenting about how smart bears are and how they can communicate with each other and stuff. Because there are bears in Among Trees, and they're terrifying until at the end when we tried to kill one, and then it was kind of a janky mess. But when you just see it on the horizon, it's awesome.
Yeah, and that bear was like 30 feet tall by the time you got up to it.
It was way too big. Maybe I was secretly a really small person in the cabin, though.
Yeah.
But it was weird playing that game so much, and I think it's really, even if you don't like survival games, it's in early access right now, so hopefully they build on it in a big way. But it really eases you into the experience, and it's really smooth and clean, which is what I love from games. And then I tried playing like half an hour of a demo on Steam for Grounded, Obsidian's new game, which is a Microsoft survival game at this point where you're shrunk down. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in the backyard. And it was better than I thought it'd be, but it was just a nice lesson of just like, oh, that's right. It still hits you with a lot out of the gate, whereas Among Trees, it's just like, hey, you just need to pick up 4-6. That's all that's going on here. And then just layers. Anyways, though, on Wednesday, they had a Pokemon Direct. Kyle, did you wake up to see this thing?
I didn't, but it was the first thing I did Wednesday morning was go watch that for sure.
I got out of bed, looked at my phone, went to my inbox, and there was an email that just said, new Pokemon Snap announced. It was like a PR message, and I was blown away. Like, I saw people tweeting about the Pokemon Direct. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll watch it after the fact, no big deal. But I saw that email, then immediately went down to the studio to record my reactions. It's up on our YouTube video, watching that thing for the first time. How out of left field? New Pokemon Snap, as I guess it's officially called here.
Yeah, I yesterday, or I guess Tuesday, on my Gaming Ride Home podcast, I was like, they're doing this Pokemon thing, and I literally said in that little segment, I was like, it would be cool to see something exciting like Pokemon Snap, but we're not going to see that. That's not going to happen. And then I was just so like, I was 100% wrong, which was fantastic. It's the best
Yeah,
case
you know, from
listen to
Pokemon PR telling you what you know.
I'll show you.
Yeah, it was funny. Somebody actually wrote in on Patreon saying like, okay, so you guys have Photo Mode Snap, and then Pokemon Snap 2 is announced. Like, what did you guys know the whole time? Also,
It's new Pokemon Snap.
yeah,
not
this is
Pokemon
completely
Snap 2.
different.
Yeah.
So people joked around that when we come back for season 2 of Photo Mode Snap, we should just call it New Photo Mode Snap.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Seems like we should probably do it. And of course, then we can do the official Photo Mode Snap for Pokemon Snap, which we haven't really been able to do before. So it's perfect. Anna, did you watch this trailer?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think?
I mean, I'm super stoked. I didn't play Pokemon Snap till I was older, so it's kind of like one of those classic games that I revisited.
Yeah.
But like honestly, I'm like more excited for Pokemon Snap than Sword and Shield, which like I don't know if that's a hot take, but I just love interacting with Pokemon, and battling is fun, but I'd rather just like see them do cute things.
Right, because like that DLC launched today, like the Isle of Armor.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah, Islands of Armor. Yeah.
Which I want to play. Then it turns out Ronnie has my copy of Pokemon. I was like, damn it, I gotta get that back at some point. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I am optimistic about new Pokemon Snap. I still was watching that trailer and being like, are they going to have all the systems in here? It seems like it's a very early version of the game that they're showing here. They had a disclaimer saying gameplay not final, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's still details like, okay, they're showing apples. I'm curious to see if they're going to be adding more items, if they're going to be bringing all those items back, if they're still going to have that structure of that original game where it's a little bit of a puzzle aspect for how to unlock new stages and new islands as you're jumping around here. There's still so many question marks about how this thing actually operates.
Well, and it looks like, I'm curious to see if it'll be set tracks, if there'll be more free exploration. From like the video, it looks like that we are on like set tracks, like these little overlays. But I'd be curious to see if there is possibility to break from that. But for now, it seems like pretty much remaking Pokemon Snap with the new Pokemon.
Although, Kyle, you noticed it is a different protagonist this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually emailed the Pokemon company just to try to get some clarity on that.
Did you really?
Like it's not a remake, right? Because it says all new adventure, but then like Ishihara was kind of saying like this is I forget what his exact wording was, but he specifically was like the original game released in 1999, and this is a new photo adventure. Like there was like just little weird wording, and it's like the beach kind of looked similar-ish enough to make me be like, are they repeating levels or anything?
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to be like repeating the levels. If anything, I think it's going to be even more different.
Nostalgic thing.
Yeah, I feel like
unless it's like they have the beach level from the N64 game or something. But
and
I'm pretty confident it's a whole new game. But there was enough to make me just try to get some clarity, and they said they would get back to me. But we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're going to play on that nostalgic to market it too and drum up excitement for it because everyone's I feel like the nostalgia factor for that game is so high.
Yeah, they'll let you print photos from the one Blockbuster that's still in business in Canada and stuff.
Bend, Oregon. Yeah. They say so on the site. They say in new Pokemon Snap, you'll explore deserts, jungles, and more as you photograph fan favorite Pokemon and discover never before seen Pokemon expressions and behaviors. New behaviors. I'd try and surprise me, Pokemon.
Mating.
The part that I get ready. Oh, there's mating in this shot. I don't know, Kyle, about that. Even leaning towards maybe remaking some stuff. I think it's going to be more different. Like the fact that they don't call it a sequel, the fact that they say inspired by Pokemon Snap is really specific, odd wording that has my skin crawl a little bit. And obviously, different developer this time around. Bandai Namco is going to be developing it, but HAL is still involved in some way in there. It's like listed in the credits, which is interesting.
Yeah, it says, because I watched your reaction, and I hadn't caught that, but it says HAL Laboratory developed by Bandai Namco in the small text, right? Which is weird, strange. I don't know what that means, but
I'm curious how HAL is helping out with this whole operation. But just even looking at the protagonist, Kyle, and the fact that they changed it from Todd in the original game, who I believe was in the anime as well, and the fact that they're going for like a new character this time around, I would put money right now that Professor Oak is not in this game, and that they're trying to divorce it from that anime world. Because think about the anime was at its peak when that original, well, in my mind at least, when that original game was released, right? And now it seems like it's been a while since Pokemon has tried to court the TV audience, unless there's some connection that I'm not thinking about. But it seems like more and more they've been like, that's a separate train. So with this one, I could see them getting away from it and not having Professor Oak, not having that voice actor come back for all these things, just based on that protagonist and the fact that they're shaking him up.
Yeah. Well, and my guess is they'd offer like a choice to like pick your gender too, just since that's like pretty common in games as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Every Pokemon, since White at this point. Right?
Yeah. I saw, like, if you look at all the photos at the end, you can see that they have filter options, which is cool. It's kind of like a cool radiant version of Pikachu. So I'm wondering if they'd have like some Instagram tie-in that's pretty progressive. I don't know. But then also, like, the weird thing is in that shot where they have all the different pictures, it seems like different aspect ratios for the pictures too. And so I don't know if that's just the presentation or that's going to be part of it, is trying to crop it and kind of more modern photo editing techniques from Twitter or Instagram being incorporated into this thing.
Well, I think like Pokemon has been like such a leader in user-generated content, and Nintendo is good at this in general. But like with Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, you saw so many like cute screenshots and videos, and so I'm sure at this point they're like, whatever game gets people posting about it on Twitter and gets us free press, like let's push it out the door. So I feel like they'll support any feature that does that.
Yeah.
Do you think will new Pokemon Snap have a photo mode in it?
I mean, no. I bet it's going to be that weird thing that they do in like Animal Crossing. Well, I guess Animal Crossing does have the photo mode.
Photo
but
mode,
like kind of the soft way they do in Animal Crossing too, where it's like, remember, they're like, okay, we're about to celebrate the launch of the museum or the reveal of the museum. Get ready to hit the snapshot button right now. Like, I think it'll probably be stuff like that even, or even like you can look at your gallery of all the photos and they'll encourage you to upload it from there or something, you know? But they did not put a release date on it. It seems like it's still a work in progress, but super exciting. I mean, who would have thunk it? It's incredibly fun to see a new Pokemon Snap. And I want to be optimistic, but this is so stupid too. This is a classic problem of being nostalgic for stuff. It's like, in my mind, I'm like, I hope they make it complex as hell. It's like, I hope they don't make it too much for the kids. It's like, what am I doing? Of course it's going to be a simplified version of the game overall.
I mean, also, I think
that aperture.
I think a lot of the appeal of the original was seeing Pokemon in 3D. And I mean, it wasn't the first time, but it felt like here's a really in-depth look at, like, you can see the Pokemon moving around as 3D models, whereas now that feels a lot more commonplace. So it doesn't have that huge, like, oh, that's really, Lapras, or like that's what Charizard actually looks like that the original Pokemon Snap had.
So they really have to up it, I think, for the animation. And there's even stuff like Pikachu eating the apple early on, where it's like, look, I'm not expecting The Last of Us Part 2, but it's like Pikachu takes a bite and it's like, oh, and like half the apple's gone. It's like, okay. It seems fine looking, but these, Surreal, once you see these new behaviors from these Pokemon, you're going to flip out. And it's going to be like seeing a whole new Vulpix out there.
And we won't even get into the expressions.
Oh, the expressions. Lord, the expressions.
A little exclamation point pops up when they notice something.
We can dream. But very exciting times. But before they revealed that, they showed debuted a game called Pokémon Smile.
I've just been waiting.
Okay. Do you want to explain what this is, Anna?
Yeah. Okay. So it's an app. You can download it now on an Apple or Android store. And it is clearly targeted at like children. Like, it is literally designed to help kids build healthy toothbrushing habits. So what it is,
real quick, that it's targeted at exhausted parents.
Yes.
The trailer's
like perspective to add to this. So it's just like, it's an app, and it's AR. So you flip the camera to you and then you brush your teeth. So it sort of gives you directions on how to brush your teeth, and you're wearing like a funny Pikachu hat and you're like battling the bad germs. And so you can take goofy photos. And it is objectively absurd. And I love it.
The crazy thing, yeah, it's free, and I messed around with it too. Like, no microtransactions that I can see. It's just a good, positive initiative. And my nephews are super into Pokemon, so right when this was announced, I texted my sister about it, and she's like, that's genuinely amazing. Like, this is genuinely a godsend. But I don't know much about brushing teeth. I played it for a bit, and like, well, first of all, I didn't have my toothbrush, so I just used my finger and just like rubbed it in front of my mouth. Like, the camera doesn't know the difference, so hot tip.
And
for
what's going on in your house that you don't like, that you're confused and don't have your toothbrush? Like, why wouldn't you just go get your? Do you not have a toothbrush?
Because I also look, Surreal. I may or may not own a toothbrush, but I also wanted just to test and see like how accurate it had to be. It turns out you can just wave anything. You can rub a carrot up your nose; it'll probably count it as you brushing your teeth.
You're ruining the magic.
Oh, sorry.
You know what's so funny about that, Hanson? Like, first thing this morning, played it with Claire, and the message on screen was constantly, "We can't see your toothbrush. We can't see your toothbrush.
Really?
We can't see your toothbrush." It was like, it worked like crap.
Have you ever seen this finger though? Look how toothbrushy this is.
Oh, wait, you're just holding a toothbrush though. That's not.
No,
that's
Kyle,
cheating.
this is a human finger. This isn't.
I see it. I see them too. Those are 10 toothbrushes.
No, you guys! I swear these are fingers. For the
No
last.
wonder you don't have a toothbrush. You just use your finger.
But I was playing it. I was like, I'm curious to see, Kyle, like how it goes with your daughter, because she's a smarter, older kid. But I was like, man, if I was playing this as a kid, I would have torn my gums out from brushing so hard, trying to like get all the bacteria off my teeth and collect a Rattata or whatever the hell was going on in my mouth. But
Jeff, are you downloading this right now off screen?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Have you seen this trailer, Jeff? Do you have any idea what we're talking about?
No. Sounds amazing.
You're really missing out. So you can catch like all 151 in there. It's a very cool, exciting.
All 151 in your mouth?
Yeah, you better get brushing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And like the music's interesting. The presentation I think is better than I thought it would be overall, just for a silly little cheap thing. But there are a lot of people saying online, like, this reminds me, where is Pokemon Sleep? It's been over a year since they announced Pokemon Sleep, and we still don't know what the hell that is.
I was thinking that, like, I wonder, I mean, there's going to be, and we could talk about this later, another announcement next week.
Yeah.
So maybe they will announce like a larger suite, so to speak, of like Pokemon Life apps. Pokemon Brush, Pokemon Sleep, Pokemon Eat.
Pokemon Go to the polls. But I mean,
You're going to need that.
I'm into it.
Pokemon COVID-19.
Just think of the options. But they also announced... Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, social distancing.
This is gold.
They announced Pokemon CafeMix, which is a game that's going to be on mobile and then also on Switch. And they say it's available soon, and it's a free-to-start game. Most notable to me, I guess, like the art style, I think is really cool. Seeing a different art style for Pokemon, and then it just looks like a puzzle game, kind of like a Sum type thing. I don't know. Sum. Kyle, did you have any thoughts on Pokemon CafeMix?
I like mobile puzzle games that let you solve puzzles to like expand things. Like my favorite mobile game of all time is You Must Build a Boat.
Yeah.
Which is like match 3, and then you sort of expand your home. So conceptually, I like that with this game. Like I'm interested in that because like if you do well, you can expand your cafe and you can expand your menu, and I think that's really cool. But the core puzzling mechanic doesn't look very satisfying. It is. Yeah. It's different from Tsum, where you're kind of like swirling all the characters together, and it almost looks like just doing that circular action you'll be successful. But like I don't know, I want to play it, but I'm optimistic about the mechanics surrounding the puzzle. I'm pessimistic about the actual puzzle solving. Right.
I think I'm with you overall there.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, I'm curious to see how that game plays out because it does look like it's going to be pay to play, but it's on the Switch. So I'm like, are you going to do pay to play on the Switch?
I mean, they've done it before with Pokemon Quest. That's on the Switch. They ported that from mobile.
You're right.
That has the free to play
like
stuff.
microtransactions, but you're using eShop currency.
It's gross. Yeah. But at the end of the Direct, the Pokemon Company president, he announced that there's another big project we're working on that I still want to share with you. You won't have to wait long, as I plan to share more news with you next week on June 24th. So please look forward to it. So the idea that he's calling it a big project, and it's a confusing thing of like, well, if they have another thing to announce, why not just do it here? But I think that must be hinting at there's going to be a Nintendo Direct on June 24th then, right? Is that the conclusion here?
Oh.
I wouldn't necessarily bet on it.
Really?
Because it just seems like they're just having back-to-back. Because then why wouldn't they just announce it then?
Well, that's
Seems
what I'm
weird for
saying.
them.
I mean, why have two Pokemon Directs so close? I think they're hinting at Nintendo Direct on Nintendo or on June 24th because they don't say that it's going to be another Nintendo or another Pokemon Direct. They just say we'll
That
announce
was my
it.
question. Did he say like we'll have another Pokemon Presents next week? He didn't
Not
say
that I saw. No, he just said we'll announce it on the 24th.
See, my sort of pessimistic assumption was like Isle of, I forget the names now. Isle of Armor.
Isle of Armor?
Yeah, is out today. So like they want to give that room to breathe, and then next week they'll go deep on the other DLC. But that's already announced.
And they've
So,
already
like,
walked through it a little bit too. So my money is that is going to be a Nintendo Direct, and they're going to announce the Let's Go, but for Silver and Gold. So it's going to be like Let's Go Miltank
exciting.
or whatever the hell it's going to be. I don't know. I'm trying to think like who's the most popular Johto Pokemon? Let's Go Cyndaquil? Would they just do that?
I guess.
Or
Let's
maybe
go Dunsparce.
Let's Go Ho-Oh is fun to say.
Let's go Shedinja.
Hell yeah. Are you guys up for a little quiz? A hot
Yes.
pop quiz? I have a list
Hot
here.
quiz?
Oh, yeah. I have a list here of every Pokemon spin-off game. How many do you think we can cross off this list and get through? Kyle, I'm
Like,
leaning heavily
we
on
list-
you. What's that, Anna?
Like we list them?
Okay, this is one at a time. Just if you can think of a Pokemon spin-off game, say it, and then we'll cross it off the list. Who's got one?
Pokemon Go.
Puzzle League.
Okay, Pokemon Go, correct. Pokemon Puzzle League, Kyle says, of course, on the N64? Yes. Deleting it from the list.
Do you want to like go around the circle? Like we'll
Yeah.
have like a okay. So like Anna, then Suriel, then Jeff, and then me.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that works.
Serial, you want to throw one out?
Pokemon Troze.
Very good call. Pokemon Troze, correct.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeons. There's so many. Do we need to do them all individually?
It turns out there's a million of these. Let's just get rid of all the Pokemon Mystery Dungeons.
Okay.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
8.
A surprising amount.
And there's one called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon : Keep Going, Blazing Adventure Squad. Let's go. Oh,
Is that DLC?
I don't think so. And then another one called Let's Go Stormy Adventure Squad. But here's my pop quiz about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Kyle, is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, the Nintendo Switch remake of the first game, out right now?
Yes.
Damn it, correct. March
I own
6th it was
it, so.
released. Okay, who wants to go next? Name a Pokemon spinoff.
Let's do Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2.
There we go. All right, crossing off the list. Anything else you want to lump in there?
Coliseum.
Okay, good call. Anything else?
Pokemon Snap.
Okay, well, okay, yeah, okay, hang on.
Hey, it counts.
Okay.
Pokemon
great.
Pinball.
Ooh, okay. Pokemon Pinball.
Hey, you Pikachu.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, hang on. You guys are going too fast. Hey, you, Pikachu. Yep.
Pokemon Channel.
Wow,
that's a
now
good
we're
one.
going. Pokemon
GameCube.
Channel, correct. The weird GameCube thing. Did you play that, Anna?
Yeah, I did.
It's just
As a
like
kid.
mini games? Or what the hell is it?
So no, not even. It's like even less than that somehow. It's funny because it like breaks up a short anime of Pichu and Pikachu or Pichu and Pichu. I forgot what those old shorts were called with Pichu. But it like breaks it into like 3 different channels and you can only watch like 3 to 5 minutes at a time. It's already a short thing. You literally just watch TV. You watch Pokemon do things on TV. There's like very little gameplay.
Oh, God. It's like, yeah, I mean, remember for the Game Boy Advance, they sold like Pokemon episodes that you could play on your Game Boy
Yeah.
Advance. Like Majesco published it and made a fortune. Okay, any
Do
other
those all
guess?
count as separate spin-offs?
What's that?
The Majesco carts, do those count?
No, they're not on the list, but we still
Okay.
have a lot on the list.
Pokemon TCG.
Interesting.
Game Boy Color?
Yes, the Game Boy Color TCG. Also, they released a PC version of the trading card game called Pokemon Play It, which I had never heard of in like 99. Also, TCG Online. That's all off the list. Correct.
Okay.
There's that DS game where you flicked Pikachu like to make him run.
Oh, Pokemon Dash.
Wow,
there you go.
Anna, good
Pokemon
call. Pokemon Dash. Way to go.
Oh, Pokken.
Yes. Yep. There we go.
Pokemon.
Also,
And the DX version for Switch.
yes, you guys got it. That's the fighting game from Bandai Namco. You know them as the developers of new Pokemon Snap.
That's right.
Digimon.
Correct. Kyle's got it. Digimon on the
The
list.
entire line of Digimon games.
Let's see. There are. It's
Super
a,
Smash Brothers count as a spin.
it does not.
Yeah.
There is a DS RPG series that completely flew by me.
And it's not Mystery Dungeon?
It's not Mystery Dungeon.
Isn't there one that's where it's tied to Nobunaga's ambition?
Oh, Conquest.
Yes. All right. That wasn't what I was
reviewed
thinking
that
of,
game.
but that is exactly on there. Pokemon Conquest, but that is not the RPG for the DS I was thinking of.
Yeah. Well, I know one app that we can cross up, Pokemon Masters, right?
Oh yeah, that wasn't even listed on Wikipedia. But yes, that's off the list
Pokemon
now.
Quest also.
Yeah,
Yep,
Pokemon
Quest.
yeah.
Yep, you got it.
Gee.
So
Pokemon Gale of Darkness.
yes,
XD.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh, there
way
we
to
go,
go
yeah.
on the
Good.
GameCube.
DS RPG.
God, there was another mobile game that was kind of like Clash Royale-ish a little bit. I forget what it's called, though. Because it was right after Go, and we're like, oh my gosh, Pokemon is taking over everything. And it was like, oh, this game's not that very good, so don't worry about this one.
Wait, did we list the one that we were just talking about? I'm forgetting the name now. The with the voxel Pokemon.
Pokemon
Quest.
Quest. Yep.
Oh, that's Quest,
That's
okay.
off the list. So there's 3 of these DS RPGs where you like draw circles to attack. 2006 was the first one. This is news to me. It's called Pokemon Ranger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heard that name rings a bell.
And
Yeah.
Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs. Jeffem, you've been suspiciously quiet.
Yeah.
He just wants to let us get all the obvious ones,
Okay.
and then he'll go for the
the
more.
last one.
I cheated for this one. Pokemon Magikarp Jump.
Correct. Wait, how did you
A game
cheat?
I reviewed that I forgot about.
Yep, that is the mobile game. Okay, doing well. There's 18 left.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Wait, is Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, do those count as spin-offs? or
No, those are tech. Well, I mean, that's
Those are mainline.
yeah. I didn't count it here.
What are those battle games on the N64 Pokemon?
Oh, Kyle already got those. The stadiums. But there was one for
There's
the
another
Wii.
one that was on like Wii U, where
Yeah.
there was like little big-headed Pokemon figures.
Oh,
Pokemon Rumble.
yes. Pokemon Rumble,
Rumble. There
Pokemon
we
Rumble
go.
Blast, Pokemon Rumble U, Pokemon Rumble World, and
There are a
Pokemon
lot
Rumble
of those.
Rush. All
I
out
think
the
that's
door.
going to be the announcement. New Pokemon Rumble.
I would not be surprised. There was a Wii version of the Stadium Coliseum line. Does anybody remember what that's called?
There's XD Gale of Darkness, Coliseum, and then
Pokemon Battle Revolution.
what?
That one. There is a sequel that was basically already mentioned, Kyle. A sequel to Pokemon Pinball called Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire.
I
Yeah.
do remember that, yeah.
There is a Game Boy Color version of Pokemon Puzzle League called Pokemon Puzzle Challenge.
Okay.
Off the list, there was a game that I guess primarily was about storing Pokemon on the GameCube and like transferring Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon Ranch.
Wow, My Pokemon Ranch was the WiiWare version of it. Yes, and I looked at like screenshots of that thing. It is scary looking. Like the art is just a disaster. But
Yeah, I think I played that.
wow, the GameCube version of it is called Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire.
Pokemon Box.
Let's see. There is the sequel to the game Serial mentioned, Pokemon Battle Troze. That was the 3DS version. Pokemon CafeMix. We already talked about it. That's off the list as well. Oh boy, we're down to 5. One of them is huge.
Is one of them an iOS game? Because like if we missed one, it's like a strategy game.
Oh, I don't know if this one is. I think they might have ported this, but this is a puzzle game. Yes, this is a puzzle game on iOS called Pokemon Shuffle.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that one.
All right, now there's also
Can you give platforms? Maybe is that too much of a hint?
Wii games. This is a boxed Wii game, and the subtitle is called Pikachu's Adventure.
What? I have no idea. What
Poke
that is.
Park Wii.
I
Pikachu's
think
Adventure.
I played that.
Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu!
Oh,
Way
there
to
you
go! The biggie!
That's a
And
big one.
now there's one left.
Platform.
This is, I believe, DS or 3DS. Nintendo 3DS released in North America in 2015. Kyle, it is extremely up your alley.
Did I review it?
Pokemon Picross.
Jeff Markiafava gets it!
I did review
For
it.
the clincher, Pokemon Picross.
Jeff
Way to
reviewed
go.
it at the last second.
That's proving himself again, the Picross master of the group.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it turns out they made a lot of those, you guys. Anyways, we have been playing Clubhouse games on the Nintendo Switch. What is it? Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. Nintendo sent over some codes. So let's see. 4 of us? Anna, you've been playing, Kyle and Serial and I?
No, I haven't been. I have not been playing.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so just the 3 of us.
I've got my piano.
If you remember this, there was a trailer a while back.
It's not making any noise, Kyle.
Yeah,
Discord's
we
not
can't
letting
hear
us hear it. But Nintendo revealed this a while back. The trailer just went through all these games.
Yeah!
Unbelievable.
Clubhouse!
But it's a collection of mini games and tabletop games, and it's kind of split between a bunch of classic card games, chess, board games, stuff like that, and then it almost feels like a successor to like Wii Sports at times, because they have like bowling in there where you're using like the Joy-Con and stuff, and they have golf, and it's pretty simplified golf, and also I don't know, this is an Easter egg that somebody was tweeting about, but that the golf courses in Clubhouse games are the same layout as golf on NES. For like the courses, which is a fun little Easter egg. But Anna, what do you think of this thing?
I mean, I was kind of surprised by how much. I mean, Nintendo is good at delivering like small mini game packages like this. Like they can put a lot of character into it, and so obviously, like that's what stood out to me was like how much thought went into the little details of like you pick your little piece at the beginning and it's customizable, and like the voice acting is very comical and like lighthearted, and that was, I mean, that drew me in. I thought that was fun.
Just the presentation, it's like it's so stupid to get excited about. This Nintendo published game, they added a soundtrack to the card game War. And it's like, I just want to see like how they're presenting these like classic things in a new way.
Yeah.
If anything like that song Kyle played, I think it's looking to be soundtrack of the year.
That was a Koji Kondo tune that I was playing.
Yeah.
You guys weren't familiar with
You're
that?
really good at it.
Kyle, it bums me out.
Like him, I listened to it for hours and hours on looping to make sure it doesn't get annoying.
It bums me out that it's like a big collection of games to play, and it's cool because like there's a lot of the games you can just play with touch. So you can play with somebody else and just like slide around to play chess on your Switch without any Joy-Cons or anything. And you just keep tweeting out about playing single player games with this thing, which seems like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I like solitaire, man. I don't know. And I learned that solitaire means like lonely in French, I guess. Like they have all these little facts about it, like when you play certain games. And then actually the piano one I bring up is funny because like the little introduction to the piano is just this man and this woman talking. She's like, "You always have something to say about all these games," and he's like, "I don't know, man. It's a piano. Like, what do you want me to say?" Like, they don't really say anything about it. And then apparently, you can line up 4 switches to make like a full piano. Apparently,
That's so stupid. I'd like to do it.
yeah.
I'm about to say.
Like you line them all up, and then you hit, mosaic mode. It's called, and you just drag your finger across all 4 screens, and then it like piano, and if you can do them in a row, or you can do them in 2 rows of 2, and it makes it like a more electric sounding piano.
Now I'm outraged about this virus. I was pissed before, but the fact that it's keeping me from getting
This is the
4
thing that
switches
finally did it.
together so I can just do a big slide across the switches, that's all I want in this world now.
But it's a charming as hell game.
I do think it's cool. It's like $40, and it's one of those things of like, okay, a lot of these games, the Rock'em Sock'em Robot equivalent, it's like, we'll play it for 15 minutes tops and then call it good. But some of these, like, it's cool to have like a touch-based version of chess or Go, and it's fun to just find new games in there and find out like the history of these things. Like, Jeff, you're a tabletop expert. Have you played Nine Men's Morris? Do you know this game?
Yeah.
Where have you heard about it? Have you known about it forever?
I think it was included in one of the old Assassin's Creed games.
Oh, okay.
It's like one of the mini games.
Yeah, it's an old Roman game. Apparently it goes back to like the BC era, or like the first writing about it was from the year 8. And it's just fun to have like those classic games on this, but that game's surprisingly fun.
Nintendo got the copyright.
They pulled it off. And there's stuff like with the Fox and the Hare, where it's another game from the 16 or 1700s, and it's like, oh, it's just cool to play these old games that I've never encountered before. Do you have a favorite in the batch, Anna?
I mean, okay, I feel like I just port my favorites from real life into the game. So my favorite card game is Speed. So I've been playing Speed in that game. Because something that I like is Speed. It's a great game. It's a pain to set up and shuffle, and the game goes by so fast. But then on the Switch, it takes a couple seconds. So
that works. I had a good time with playing through all these with somebody else. And the baseball game was surprisingly good. Like a lot of the other sports ones, it's like, okay, you get it. You can play air hockey. You can play some toy tennis, they call it, and stuff. But this baseball game is surprisingly fully featured for these micro games in this package. And the timing is brutal. Like if you are the pitcher, you have the upper hand in such a big way, more than any baseball game I've ever played. And I haven't played too many of them, to be fair. But it is just infuriating to be the batter and always just I feel like I can get it this time, and you just miss every time. Basically, I've seen Dan Reichert and friend of the show Mike Mahardy streaming that they're playing Mega Baseball 3 or whatever. I would like to see them play this version of baseball, because this seems like just a boiled down, brutal, tight baseball experience. I think it's surprisingly cool.
Is it online?
The Last of Us Part 2 of baseball games.
Absolutely.
Is it online? Can you play online at all? Or?
I think you can, yeah. For some of them,
certain games.
Yeah. And then for some of them, you need multiple switches, which is odd. Like you can't play Texas Hold'em without multiple switches, stuff like that. Also, it's weird.
Sense, I guess.
It's weird for the bowling game. Like you think about one of the nice things with the Wiimote is that it's kind of ambidextrous, but it's weird that okay, if your partner has the left Joy-Con, it's they just have to hold the left Joy-Con in their right hand to bowl. It's kind of gross feeling. But Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics was the name of that thing. I'm happy I played it. Let's see. Time to move on?
Let's do it.
Okay. Anna, do you know how this whole thing operates?
yeah, we use a Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/MinnMax2ends. If you support us at any tier, you get access to the Discord, which is a bit of a Shangri-La. It's a very, very friendly community on the internet. I think that's the number one piece of feedback we've gotten from MinnMax overall. When I message people when they sign up on Patreon, because I'll send you a nice message about hey, how'd you find us? What kind of stuff do you want to see? And so many people respond by yeah, I heard you on the podcast talking about how nice that Discord is, and I did not expect it to be this overwhelmingly positive. It's still just a bit of an oasis on the internet, so please check that out. Also, just a plug that on Tuesday we put up an interview with Shane Kim, who was the former head of Xbox. He was at Microsoft for 20 years, worked his way up. He eventually handed his role off to Phil Spencer, so he was the Phil Spencer before Phil Spencer. But he hasn't done a big interview that I can find for over 10 years. So it was nice unpacking the history of the Xbox with him. He was also the CEO of GameStop. So we get into a fun conversation about GameStop's challenges and stuff like that. So you can find that on our YouTube channel, or you can unlock the podcast version if you support us at the $5 tier, along with the audio versions of The Deepest Dives for The Last of Us Part 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake, all that fun stuff. All right. Look at this. BeatenDownBrian, the incredibly sweet member of the community. He supported us on Patreon, and he's using that opportunity to plug other people. So BeatenDownBrian says, hey, if you're in the mood for a stream or a Let's Play, then I encourage you to check out Captain Stubbs 1's YouTube channel. He's currently working his way through Dead Space with a recent episode featuring guests from MinnMax's community. Go check him out and support his channel, because that's what the community is all about. P.S. There's also some dude named Kyle and Suriel that stream pretty regularly on Twitch, and you could also go check them out if you're really stuck, I guess. Kidding, says BeatenDownBrian. They rock. Also, thanks to I Am 8-Bit for their support of MinnMax. That's ongoing here. They have limited editions of What the Golf. They're printing 2,500 of these for the Nintendo Switch, only available on I Am 8-Bit store. It's a great game from last year, one of my favorites. It's in my top 10 list, maybe around number 6 or something like that. But you can find the limited edition of What the Golf on their store, and it comes with a sticker sheet, and they're also selling the vinyl soundtrack for What the Golf. And if you use the promo code MinnMax, you get 10% off. So thank you to I Am 8-Bit for their support. And every week they ship out an amazing prize from their store to somebody from the community who submitted the best comment, the best question for this community questions segment. So let's see, this week, what should they ship out? How about this plushie from Monument Valley? So we're going to choose our favorite question of the week, and that person will get shipped out this cute plushie from Monument Valley that's available in I Am 8-Bit store. So thank you for that.
But not one that has your germs on it, right?
No, they're going to ship out a new one. Yeah, because this one, it's basically covered in Cheeto dust at this point. It's a real mess. But there's something new as well that I wanted to let folks know about. So a while ago on the podcast, maybe it was even on the Game Informer show, I was talking about Satisfy Switch grips and how great they are. Where basically you take Switch in handheld mode, you can dock it into this thing, makes it feel comfortable like a PlayStation 4 controller. It's called the Satisfy Grip, specifically the Zen Grip Bundle, which comes with like a carrying case and stuff like that. And so when I launched MinnMax, we're like, oh, maybe we could get like sponsors for the podcast. They were the first people that I reached out to see if they wanted to sponsor the podcast. They said, not so much. But we kept talking. And so now we got to a point where they're up for doing community giveaways. And so we're going to be giving away 2 Zen Grip bundles on the Nintendo Switch from Satisfy. That's SATISFYE. We're going to be giving away 2 of these every month for the next 4 months, thanks to them. So it's that awesome thing of like, hey, works for our community, works for us. This will be great. So the way you can win this incredibly comfortable grip for your Switch is if you're on Twitter, regardless of how many followers you have, no big deal. If you just tweet out your favorite piece of MinnMax content so far throughout the long, storied 7 months that we've been around, whatever the hell it's been, tweet out your favorite piece of content or even our YouTube channel and include the hashtag GamesFriendsGettingBetter. If you include that hashtag, then we'll randomly choose from that pool and then you can win a Satisfy Switch grip. So thanks again to the folks at Satisfy. That's very nice. And we'll select a winner soon. So tweet that out and we'll ship it out your way. All right. Community questions. Y'all ready for this?
Yes.
Thank you, Kyle. Brian W. says, hey, I'm just going to say it. We need E3. This sucks. We got half a presentation from Sony. Microsoft's is so far away, and who even knows when Nintendo's going to reveal anything? This is a very slow, unexciting drip for a summer. How do you feel about this summer game fest so far?
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like on some level, I feel like on some level, as long as all of the news gets out there, right? That's all that really matters. And I know that there's like a spectacle to, hey, let's just do it all one day, and it's like the super exciting day. But I think we've talked about this a little bit before about, I think maybe the people who suffer most are some of the smaller companies that get to be bundled in with major announcements. But we are sort of seeing a little bit of that. I don't think Jet gets its own the new game from Super Brothers gets its own presentation, that hundreds of thousands of people tune into if it's not on the back of something like, the Sony presentation. So we are seeing kind of that. And then we're also seeing kind of these one-off announcements where people do get to have their say or like their time in the sun of like, hey, now it's like, this is the day where this gets announced and people are excited about it.
I love having the compacted week. I'll take that over this any day, any year. But at the same time, it seems so bizarre to get lost in the sea of announcements. Like even over the weekend when the PC gaming show was happening, I forgot it was happening. And I was just confused about like, why is Persona 4 Golden being released on Steam on a Saturday? It's like, oh, that's right. The PC gaming show. There's so many events going on now and there's no great way to track it other than people on Twitter trying to let you know what might be coming up. But even over the weekend too, I suddenly saw Easy Allies was talking about their reaction video for Guerrilla Collective. I'm like, what is this? Is Guerrilla Collective like an E3 stream I should be paying attention to? There's just so many things that I can't wrap my mind around, and I feel like I'm paying pretty close attention to this stuff overall.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to tell too, like if announcements are slower or if announcements don't happen, like what's just delays in production because of COVID. Like is this because E3 was canceled or is it because COVID is like canceling a lot of things, Yeah. So even just people being wishy-washy with the dates when they are included in this of like, what was that even? God, which was that big studio? Oh, Baldur's Gate 3. That team said like, we're aiming for this. We're aiming for August, but we'll see how it goes.
I think they said August 2020, maybe. I think it was what it said in the trailer.
Perfect.
I would be super curious to see what the engagement metrics are for like various companies, whether they have like a way to directly compare to E3 of like, oh, well, this number was way higher during our E3 thing, or like because we had the day to ourselves, engagement was much higher for whatever metrics are directly comparable year over year. And I think that'll be like the biggest signal to whether or not companies continue to do this, or if they start compressing this entire summer into a few months just by, or a few weeks. I mean, just by like naturally, like, hey, if we compress it more, there's more excitement and we get to get more engagement.
Well, we do know that the PlayStation stream was like a huge success.
Yeah.
Like more so even than anything. I think any of its past E3 presentations.
Oh,
so
did they have some statement about it being popular?
Yeah. Here, this is Millie Amond, who does like stats for YouTube, is like her job.
Huh.
And she said that, yes, the PS5 reveal event was the most watched gaming live stream in YouTube history. It surpassed all previous console reveals and E3 shows.
Wow.
So that seems like it's working pretty well.
Yeah. I wonder if folks are kind of starved for content. So when they're like, oh, PlayStation show, like they just go all in.
Yeah, it's also like Sony's the one who's most going to benefit from something like that because, people will come to Sony no matter what. Like that, I don't think they were worried about like, oh, what if people are too busy staying at home to watch this?
Yeah, I saw there was this weird thing where 505 Games was showing some racing game. I'm sorry for forgetting the details. And they were streaming it like from the official E3 account. It was like being hosted on E3's official site. And I checked that out and there were like 3,000 people watching or something. It's one of those just like, okay. It's so bizarre seeing like, hey, here's a technical E3 stream. And it's like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah. It's also weird that, oh, go ahead.
I feel like that all of this is kind of a continued failure of the ESA in that regard, where it's totally understandable that the show was canceled, but they should have been the ones to step up and say, okay, well, actually, we're just doing everything online, and here's a very concrete schedule of lining up all these different publishers and everyone. And instead, you had IGN kind of trying to do it, but, like you said, there's about 50 different sources, and no one is announcing specific times until they're ready for it, and it has just kind of become this big mess. And I feel like if anyone was going to do it, it should have been the people in charge of E3 to begin with.
And I think they tried to message that when they announced that there wasn't going to be an E3. They're like, we're moving everything online. We'll figure it out. And then I think all the publishers were just like, all right, we'll just figure out our own stuff then. Like there's trying to rally everybody before that announcement, I guess. They were just trying to get it out there that, hey, please don't come to LA. But
it definitely seemed for a little bit there that the Summer Games Fest from Jeff Keighley was going to be kind of the thing. And then I don't think I've heard too much about it in the last couple of weeks.
Well, he had an interesting thing, actually, where he was streaming the PlayStation event last week and then had like a post-show and a pre-show where he had interviews with developers and stuff like that. So it seemed to be a pretty good resource overall. He had developers of, that game that starts with an E for the PS5 that I can't remember the name of right now. Ember? Is that what it's called?
Ember Ash?
I don't remember.
No.
But anyways, they were on there. So it seems like they're still doing something, but it's less of like, come here for the hot exclusives. It's just a more informed take on a lot of these E3-ish events. But good question. Let's see. Nick L writes in and he says, hey, if you knew everything about a new system except what it looks like, would you buy it? You'd know obvious things like price, game releases, whether it can be vertical or horizontal, but also things like the maximum dimensions. It could be a big box. It could be a triangle base and circle on top. Would you buy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the PlayStation 5, you didn't get to see it until it showed up at your house.
Yeah.
That would almost kind of be cool.
Yeah.
If Sony had the guts to do that, where it's like you're buying this and you're not going to see it until you actually open up the box, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I guess unless they're going to be pranking you, how bad could it be? It'll be totally fine.
Even if it's something like phallic, like you just put it behind the cabinet, like you're fine.
Yeah, that's where you put all your phallic objects, behind the cabinet. By the way, the game I was thinking of was Ember Labs, and it was the game that, again, I screamed at you all on the PlayStation 5 stream, don't let me forget the name of this game. Kenna Bridge of Spirits, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
Who can forget? Stephen Vela says, what AI improvements would you like to see in the next generation of games? Is there a recurring thing in video games over the past few years that you'd like to see improved? Red Dead Redemption 2 set a high bar in terms of how NPCs react, and I hope we'll see more of that in the next gen. Jeff, what do you think about the AI in Red Dead 2?
It was great, man. From what I've seen,
It seems
people
a
were
little
doing
flat.
chores. People were doing chores around the camp. It was phenomenal.
Wow.
Along those lines of people reacting, I would like to see just more focus on AI characters kind of living out believable lives and, kind of having their own routines and things that they go along. So it's not just, a person's walking down the street and they're just going to, take a loop around the block, or they're just going to phase out as soon as I'm 2 blocks away, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll see that in Deathloop. Like, one of the things they were talking about for that game was the idea of like, okay, it's going to be a really compact city, and since you're stuck in this loop, you'll get to follow people and like understand better where they're all at. So I wonder if that's going to be a display of that, or if that's a little bit more rote of just they're going from here to here to here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see something like because I think one of like the big things with video games now is that they kind of throw like they try to ground you like in these realistic environments, but then they'll throw like way too many enemies because they have to be fodder, right?
Yeah.
I would like to see like encounters where people are really protective of their of themselves to the point where like killing one person takes like a huge amount of effort because they're always hiding and they're kind of behaving a lot more believably. And so like you can have encounters where it's just like it was just like one other person. And it took me a while. Like all I had to do was shoot them like 2 or 3 times, but it took a while because they were like shifting and hiding or whatever, and they were being a lot more stealthy in a believable way. I think that would be like a cool thing to see versus without it being like an actual other person on the other end.
Yeah. Nicholas Cole says, greetings and salutations, everybody. I'm very excited to be a part of the Deepest Dive for The Last of Us Part 2. Thank you. I want to be a part of the discussion and experience the game with the community. I'm really excited for this game in particular because I didn't get to experience the phenomenon of the first Last of Us as I only just finished it this year. So my question is there a game or games that you wanted to make sure you played right away so that you could be part of the discussion/event? Or is there a game that you didn't play right away and regret not being part of the discussion/event? I'm with Nicholas, where for me it was The Last of Us Part 1, where I recorded our spoiled video back at Game Informer about it, so it was all spoiled for me, so I didn't play it until the PS4 version.
Do you wish, in hindsight, that you had been there for...
I think it would have been nice to have a fresh take and attach to those characters without just knowing eventually where everything's going.
I mean, it's a problem, but like I feel rushed with like a lot of story-driven games, like even Last of Us, like I feel like I have this deadline for myself with like I need to get it done. I need to finish it by Friday because I don't want to stumble on a spoiler on Twitter.
Right.
Like I have the benefit of being able to do that, like with MinnMax and everything. But like, I mean, yeah, a lot of times, like story-driven games in particular, like it's not even like that I necessarily need to be part of the discussion as much as I just want to experience things on my own terms instead of the internet's terms, So, but in terms of one I feel like I wish I had played right when it came out. I've even said it before, is Metal Gear Solid 2. I came to that one later and like really loved it. And it was kind of one of those things where I was like, man, have you guys played this game? And they're like, yeah, we played like 2 years ago. It was great.
Mine is a little different, but in hindsight, I wish I would have been on the Minecraft train when it was just like first coming out and still really heavy in development in terms of them adding new stuff all the time. I imagine that just completely blew the minds or the community's mind as that was going on, and kind of that would have been a fun thing to kind of a phenomenon to actually participate, because we came to it years later after it had already been in early access a long time, and it was another one of those situations where it's like, oh man, this is really amazing, and it's like, yeah, community's known about that for a long time.
Yeah. Sincerely, Eric says, hello, Ben and the computer-loving squadron. Hello. My question to all of you this week, what is the oddest game for a particular studio to have come out with? As in, if I said, what studio do you think made blank? And then I told you it was blank, you would say, no way, let me look that up. For example, do you know who made Mario Hoops on the 3DS? Does anyone remember this weird one?
Square Enix?
No.
Yeah, Suriel Vasquez, Square Enix.
Yeah, because it had like the white mage, or it had like, I think it was either the white mage or the red mage in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think it had like, who was it? The Tonberry? I think the Tonberry was involved.
Oh my god, that sounds perfect
It had
and
a
lethal.
lot of weird, yeah. Square Enix crossovers.
I love this question from Sincerely Eric on Patreon. Does anybody have any games that immediately jump to mind for just oddballs and coming from a famous studio?
I think the weirdest example. Oh, go ahead.
There was Table Tennis by Rockstar.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, there was that time that BioWare made a Sonic the Hedgehog RPG.
Oh, that's right.
That's a good one, yeah. I think of this as maybe a weird one, but Fifth Cell, who did all the Scribblenauts games.
Yeah.
And they did Drawn to Life, which are very like cartoony platformers. And then in 2012, I looked it up to make sure, they released a like strategy cover shooter that was like very gritty and science fiction.
And you couldn't
hybrid.
You couldn't aim in that game. There's something funky about.
No, it was you couldn't move like outside of moving from cover to cover. So it's like you could move within the cover or whatever, but you couldn't like be out in the open. You had to jump from piece of cover to cover, and it was like this weird like 3D space thing where you could hop onto the top of the room or go down below. I remember playing a little bit
from the
of
makers of Scribblenauts. Like, yeah, of course.
It's so weird. Somebody wrote in before to the MinnMax show, but I didn't read it, and I'm sorry. Somebody wrote in just about how insane it is that EA Tiburon, the Madden studio, that they were the developers of Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure.
Right. Yeah. That was a very weird game.
Did they do Superman Returns?
Yes. I believe
That's another
so.
weird one.
Yep.
Yeah.
The sports studios, when they eventually shake out, like this game didn't go anywhere, but on PS3, or was it PS4? But Sony San Diego developed a game called Kill Strain, which I think was another free-to-play Sony game. I think it was released. I didn't hear a word about it after that. This is my favorite topic. I have a bunch of random ones. Do you guys know who developed Bubsy 3D? Sony Bend. The developers of Days Gone and Siphon Filter. Back before it was called Sony Bend, it was that studio. Because I remember like the creative director for Days Gone defending Bubsy 3D when we were there. He was like, that game was doing cool stuff. Don't bash it. This is a light one, but I'm always fascinated that Myst 4 was developed by Ubisoft Montreal. Like,
oh, I didn't know that.
The studio that brought you Assassin's Creed, of course.
Did you guys know that the same people that did Jak and Daxter did The Last of Us?
No, Kyle. Come on. This is a serious question from Sincerely Eric. Don't mess with us. There's the classics of like Adventures of Cookie and Cream on PS2 is a From Software game. Do you know who developed, Kyle, Dragon Ball Z Sagas? That crappy Dragon Ball game?
Avalanche from Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah, the Disney Infinity team, and now they're working on that Harry Potter RPG. There's also weird stuff like Warner Brothers Montreal, Arkham Origins studio. They developed Lego Legends of Chima Online, like this Lego MMO that nobody has ever talked about, and I don't even know if it's online still. Arc System Works, Surreal, our dear friends from Dragon Ball Fighters, they developed Moonwalker on Genesis.
Huh.
Really?
I know
Yeah.
that.
I didn't know that.
Do you guys know who developed The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge?
Oh,
on PS2?
I can see that cover in my head because you had like a whip attack, right?
Yep. The action's
man.
very good.
Is it like Activision or something?
No, it's Capcom. And the fun thing is that there was a Resetera thread that broke it down. It's a lot of the DMC development team. They went right from Devil May Cry over to Nightmare Before Christmas, and the action in it genuinely looks awesome. It's a weird one. Let's see. There's stuff like Monolith, like the Shadows of War people, the Middle Earth people. They developed like No One Lives Forever and Fear and Blood, all that stuff. Do you guys know who ported Samba de Amigo from the Dreamcast to the Wii?
Was it Ready at Dawn?
Close. Gearbox.
Oh,
I was gonna randomly guess Gearbox. Damn.
Kyle, do you know who ported Okami to the Wii?
nope, no idea. I have no clue.
The IGN guys, right?
It was the IGN team. Yeah, that was Ready at Dawn then. But thank you sincerely, Eric. I love
That's a good
dumb
question.
developer trivia. Stud Muffin says, I know someone who brushes their teeth in the shower. Are they simply a freak, or has my friend attained an unprecedented level of efficiency and ingenuity? In the middle. I think it's a bit much. Like, just wake
I've done
up.
it a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, mostly because it was like, I think it was a late for work kind of thing where it's like, okay, if I can fuse these two activities together and do it faster. But it's like, you maybe save like 10 seconds or something.
Doesn't your phone short out from Pokémon Smile in the shower? I don't get how that would work.
Oh, this was before. This was the before times. Yeah.
You guys brushed your teeth before Pokemon Smile?
Yeah. I also knew this really weird guy who had like 10 toothbrushes for fingers. It was really weird.
Sounds pretty hot. So Stud Muffin asked, what's something strange you do for the sake of efficiency?
I like this question, but I don't know if that I have a great answer.
All right, I don't think this is too freaky, but I've been running in the mornings. Serial, are you still running?
No, I'm staying mostly inside, but
Smart.
mine is actually related to that, which I'll get to once you're done.
Okay, yeah. So I've been running in the mornings, but like, yeah, you're going to get drenched in sweat. It's going to be a mess. And so I just always wear my clothes from the day before as I go running because I'm going to have to wash them anyway. So it's just like my socks and stuff, just everything from the day before. Is that weird?
You're wearing jeans?
Yeah, and my hoodie. No, I have like my running shorts, but then like shirt and socks and underwear, all that stuff. Just day before, let's really blow this stuff out.
It's not typical, but it's not. I don't think it's like crazy or anything.
Okay, all right.
I have,
especially if you run every morning.
I have a basket of clothes where it's like if I only put on socks to like walk down to the mailbox or something, then I'll just put them in there because they're still good at that point.
It's your dirty but still good clothes.
Yeah,
I like it.
I've been using my exercise bike to watch a lot of movies recently. So, because I've been working through the Blank Check podcast, friends of the show, but as I've been working through those and watching the films, mostly the stuff that's free, or if it's like, hey, here's a really big movie that I haven't seen, I'll pay for those. Yeah. But I'll usually like start the movie and bike for like an hour or so, and then watch the rest of it, after. So it's been a good way to like catch up on that stuff, and also because it's like it's easier for me to like just focus in. It's more like the movie theater experience since I can't do anything else while I'm biking. I can't check my phone really. So it allows me to actually focus on the movie pretty well.
Did you watch Babe, Pig in the City?
I did because it was free. What I did, the weirdest thing that I did was I went through like, okay, here are all the movies on HBO. I don't have HBO, but I can get a 7-day trial and watch like 7 or 8 movies, and I can get
Gone
those
with
done.
The Wind, the other Grady's, yeah.
Exactly. So I did end up watching both of the Babe movies actually last weekend.
Isn't Babe 2 the weirdest, darkest thing in the world?
Yeah, it goes like every time I'm thinking like I know how this is gonna go. Like she's going in, like she's taking the pig into the city, and they're gonna have the shit. But it's like the fact that it's based on just basically one night before the thing, and like the directions it goes. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like it just go every time you think it's gonna turn right, it turns left in this weird way that I do not expect.
And so you would recommend, to clarify, you would recommend watching Babe in the City.
Well, I mean, you have to watch the first one because it's like that's a lot of setup.
Yeah, it's gonna be confusing.
But I also do appreciate. I haven't listened to the episode on it yet, but I really like watching it now. It just feels like it must have been impossible to direct, quote unquote, these animals the way they do because you don't see like you see a lot of shots where you don't. I don't know what they were doing off screen to get the animals to move in like very specific ways.
Yeah,
it feels like, man, the making of this movie must. Like there is a book there in terms of how hard that must have been.
Yeah, deepest dive. Babe in the Big
my
City.
God, we're just gonna have like a freaky orangutan in a suit, like walk down a staircase that's lined by cats and dogs, like paying solemn respect. It's like, what is this film?
Yeah,
I've never seen a movie that like relishes death more than Babe 2 Pig in the City. Like every time a character dies or you think that they're dying. Like, for example, it's just a dumb example, but I remember it just happens over and over again in that movie. But there's a dog that's in like a wheelchair, and the dog like dies, gets hit by a truck or something, and then it just, because it's Babe, of course, and then it just shows the wheelchair tipped over on its side, and like the wheel is still spinning on the wheelchair, and the camera just holds on this wheel, slowly spinning until it stops. For what feels like 3 minutes, it is just like letting you soak in the fact that these characters are dying in a pornographic level of attention. It is weird.
It doesn't linger on the fact that it's like the novelty of like, oh, these animals, they somehow got them to talk or whatever. But it's like all these characters have like actual arcs from beginning to end that feel like they sat down and talked about, okay, the dog that initially chases Babe throughout the early parts of the city in the first half hour. Let's give him an actual arc where he comes to respect Babe for saving his life after he falls off the bridge. And
pay the pig.
Drowns.
Yeah.
Like it's so that movie is wild. It's a good movie.
Hey, George Miller's finest work. James Smith wrote in. Did we answer that? What was that question about? Oh, yeah. Running.
Being efficient?
Yeah, being efficient. James Smith says, hey, Banana Hansen and the Bananaramas. You got it. What do you think Visceral would be making right now if there were still a studio? There's a
Dead Space 4.
I mean, it's so easy to go for like the big one.
That's what I want them to be making.
There's still a world where they'd be making Amy Hennig's Star Wars game. That is like, all right, this is one of those things. Let's just push it to next gen, and we'll get around to it eventually.
So like a hypothetical on a hypothetical.
It is.
Yeah.
Or they'd be the Apex Legends support studio instead of Respawn opening up a new studio, in Montreal or whatever.
I mean, there was a chance. I mean, at some point they maybe could have taken over Call of Duty, like become one of those Call of Duty studios
Battlefield.
Wrong, sure,
Battlefield?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, could be. Stephen Lamson says, hello, podcast hosts and co-hosts. What is your preferred method of eating an Oreo? 3/4 dunk with fingers, full dunk with fingers, fork stabbed into the white filling, custom-made Oreo dunking utensil, or something different?
First one, 3/4.
Yeah, it's 3/4, and then you just hope that the edge doesn't break as you're holding it.
Or
You guys just bite into the.
You gotta have a light touch on that.
I usually do the spin thing and then split it apart and then eat the cookies separately.
Yeah, which one do you start with?
The one without the frosting on it.
Yeah.
There are rules.
You understand how it works.
And then you lick the other one until it's like it's just like a very thin coating, and then you bite into that one.
I'm not a big Oreo guy. I think they're fine. I think store cookies always underwhelming. It's the biggest discrepancy between made at home versus bought in the store is like a chocolate chip cookie in particular. Like a Chips Ahoy versus homemade chocolate chip cookies.
Well,
night and day.
If you're buying Chips Ahoy, Hansen, yeah.
I don't want to buy it.
Chewy Chips Ahoy are good.
Chewy? No.
Yeah.
I mean, still, yes, objectively a tasty thing to put in your mouth compared to most things.
You can say that
I've
about
done.
a lot of foods, though. Like that, yeah, it's obviously better if you make them at home.
I don't know. I think if you make like a chicken parmesan, you're going to get 80% of the way there at home, right? But that cookie discrepancy, that's like 15% versus 100%. Anyways, my question that I had for you all about Oreos is like, maybe I've been eating them wrong my entire life. Like, what percentage of the time are you eating Oreos with milk? Because for me, it's probably 4% of the time. Very rare.
Yeah.
It's probably like 90 for me.
90.
Really?
If I'm going to have an Oreo, I might as well get a glass of milk to go with it. You know.
I mean, I feel like I shifted from one to the other.
And you need the mustache broom, and
That's essential.
then you need a nap. When you give a mouse a cookie is what it is.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I was confused.
Joe Kafchinsky says, I love it when games let you approach. Oh, I love this. Is so specific. I love it when games let you approach a ladder from either direction and automatically swing you around to the proper side if necessary. Even better if they do it with a flourish, like Batman's cape or Ezio's robes. What are some meaningless touches in games that make you irrationally happy?
That's a good one. The latter one is definitely a good one.
I prefer the former one.
I think for me, one tiny thing is when you can click one of the sticks to switch the perspective from like left side of the screen to the right side. Because The Last of Us does not have that, and I missed it a lot. So I always appreciate games where, like, I think Alan Wake was the first game that I noticed you could do this in. I don't know if it was the first one that let you do it, but I remember thinking like, oh, that's really cool. You can shoot from the left side of the screen or the right side of the screen. And
it's tactical sometimes too. You know, like genuinely helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get this is like maybe not the right answer for the question, but I get annoyed if like you press the map button, but then you have to press the map button to leave the map, and you can't press like the B button.
Oh,
like
weird.
B button should always be exit. I played a game recently where I was checking the map a lot, and you had to press the map button again to exit it, and I never got the hang of it. Like I always would press B and be like, I gotta press map, you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mine is, I like when games let you break windows for some reason. Like anytime they let you break windows, but also the more advanced they get with the physics of it. So it's not just like the whole thing smashes, but if you can just break out little pieces of it, I will spend way too much time doing that.
Hell yeah.
Hey, Jeff, cover your ears for a second.
Oh, God.
Just cover your ears, earmuffs.
or just take your headphones off.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
Jeffem's really gonna love The Last of Us Part 2, you guys.
There's a lot of smashing windows. Oh my God, that's what everybody's so angry about online.
You can come back now.
Come back, Jeffem, come back.
Kyle, I think I can probably figure out what you were saying there.
No, there's no way you can figure it out.
I mean, I've never heard more disparaging comments about Jeffem's wife. I was stunned.
He spoiled the end of Baked Pig in the City, all right?
Taylor Owens asks, hey, is Apple Arcade still a thing? I haven't heard anyone talk about it since the first month. Can we deem it a failure? Is anybody still playing this thing?
Yeah, it was good in execution. I feel like everyone was so hyped, but then everyone's free trials ended.
That must be what it is. And they're still rolling out games. I was trying to see if there's any big developers now. I think Q Games has like 2 games on there or something, but I haven't touched it.
A gamer playing with trash collectors or something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kyle, if anybody was still sticking around with this thing, I feel like it'd be you.
And I'm not, which is probably telling because I liked it. I paid for like 2 months, I think, ultimately, because I just was so into Grindstone. And I also liked that there was a storefront because my kid likes mobile games a lot. And I would be like, if you're going to get a mobile game, just get it from here. Mm-hmm. Like, don't look anywhere else. Just get it from this store because I know there won't be microtransactions or anything in it. And but we just stopped. There weren't any games I was playing, so I let it lapse and I haven't gone back.
Yeah.
Also, Xbox Game Pass has such a wide variety of titles now, from rock solid indies to just Red Dead was on there recently, right? Added. So, why would you pay for something else?
It's true. It's sad, but true. Yeah. Cade Mead says, just curious how the pandemic has changed each of your work lives as games journalists / freelancers. Only based on how it affects work, are you looking forward to getting back to normal someday, or are you enjoying the possibility of a new home-focused lifestyle? This is a big one, Cade.
I weirdly, just before everything went down, had started a job where I worked from home, producing the daily podcast. And so even when things go back to normal, I will still be working from home as long as I'm still doing the podcast, So it's hasn't affected my professional life a lot other than I'm not coming to MinnMax. That's the big thing that's changed, which I do miss, but
that's why I was going to say that I am certainly looking forward to when we can just get into the studio, although now it's super humid and gross. And probably
it's disgusting in here. Don't come in here.
It'll be very different. When we left, it was too cold, but now we can experience it for it to be too hot.
But realistically, you won't be coming back until it's
3-day period where it was probably nice down there.
Yeah, that's really the biggest issue with the pandemic.
I do miss that, but otherwise, if I was going to do something else, I would be fine doing it from home.
Ooh, big news, everybody. I'm surprised I didn't cover this in the Pokemon Direct, actually. It was gargantuan. I went to Jeffem's house this last weekend.
What?
I found out where he lived. And for the first time, I showed up at his front door, and he gave me...
past the landmines, and...
It was stunning.
Did he call you over to, break some windows? Is that what he wanted you to do?
I was borrowing a bunch of 1v1 tabletop games. Basically just letting him buy all these games, and then I'm just going to borrow them for a very, very long time. So thank you, Jeffem.
Oh, you used to do that with me in Blu-rays. That used to be our thing. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Do you have any Blu-rays I could have, Jeffem?
No.
Okay, great. Well, I'll come
over. I do have a copy of Control that we could pass out. That was a pre-pandemic lend from Kyle that I still have.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, also, Anna, I have a MinnMax shirt for you that's been sitting in my room for a very long time. It's everybody has these gifts pent up at this point now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anybody else have thoughts on their lifestyle now?
No, it's mostly been I've been working from home, so it hasn't really changed it. But I do have to be more the biggest thing it's changed is that let's order from this restaurant. It's closed. Okay, well, I guess I'll do something else.
Yeah. Well, now it's hard to tell what is closed because of COVID and then what is closed because of the riots, and it's just a mess,
Versus, is this thing now closed forever because of COVID, and so it's shut down? It's still just devastating.
Yeah.
Travis writes in, he says, someone tell Jeffem that corn is not a vegetable.
Corn is not a vegetable.
What is corn
I
then?
don't play
Besides
that game.
the
I
band?
don't care. Tomato's not a fruit. I don't care what anyone. I don't care what the scientists say about that.
Well, this Travis, the scientist, I don't know what he's talking about. I just Googled it, and it says corn is a vegetable. Whoa, maybe this is the twist. But the corn kernel itself is considered a grain. So maybe that's what he's talking about? I don't know.
Wait, so the kernel? Okay, so the kernel itself. So what? The rest of it is the part that you don't eat is a vegetable, or what?
What the cob is the vegetable?
No, like what you would. I'm thinking about a grain like you would grind up corn and make it like into a tortilla,
Maybe,
right? In the same way that you could like grind up. So I don't know. Maybe it's both. Because I was like, is grain not a vegetable? I guess it's a grain. Is wheat not a vegetable?
I don't think wheat is a vegetable.
Flour is my favorite vegetable. But
Bread is my favorite vegetable.
So it says that.
Well, I mean, pizza was a vegetable for a little while, right? So
I think so. Yeah.
I think legally it still is. Or no, pizza's legally a fruit because of the tomatoes that are on it.
Well, you're
right?
saying like the
I don't know.
Supreme
There's something
Court's coming
crazy
down
like
on
it's
this.
legally defined as like a fruit or vegetable.
Why are you saying legally so many times?
Because okay, this
I
is
think
like
it's- Yeah, go ahead.
oh no, it's just a long story. But like if it has a certain amount of tomato sauce on it, it can be classified as a vegetable, so that public schools can say like we served this vegetable to these kids.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of messed up, right? Because yeah.
So this says that the corn kernel itself, where popcorn comes from, is the grain. So I guess like the yellow part is still a vegetable, and then what is the popcorn part at the bottom of the yellow thing? Is that the way how does corn work?
We bought a maker recently, so we've been eating a lot of homemade popcorn. If I just took a corn and just scraped the kernels into the popcorn maker, would that make like fresh popcorn?
If it was
let us
dry,
know.
right?
It has to be dried out, I guess?
No, it's something else, isn't it? I think it's at the bottom of those things. But Kyle, please put a bunch of frozen corn into your popcorn maker and tell us how it goes.
No, I'm putting fresh corn in that sucker. I'm putting frozen corn.
All right.
Put live corn on the cob.
Yeah, very alive. Drifter writes in, he says, what is this? Oh, hello. Sorry if this is a suggestion, but when this thing that's spreading stops and when all of you return to the studio, can you all give each other a group hug, only if it's safe? But right now, can everybody give each other a virtual group hug? All right, Drifter
What's the layout here? Because my layout looks different than what the final version.
I
so
don't
do I need
think
to
it
put my
matters.
arms like this way.
I think it's just straight out for everybody.
Okay, there we go.
And then it's kind of like,
Or POV.
and then you kind of, but make your arms closer to your face.
There's no wrong way to do this, okay?
Yeah. Can you just see how much all of us are sweating right now?
What are you talking about? We're fine.
To myself, thank you.
Yarrow asks, have you ever went back to a game and had some new revelations / new ideas about it?
I've
Okay.
gone back to games that I didn't like that I ended up liking a lot after revisiting them. But new ideas, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I recently did play through The Last of Us, and we can talk a little bit more about it on the Game Club. But I think a lot of the reason that I don't like the world as much as I think a lot of other people kind of came into, like it crystallized for me. Just it feels like it feels a little bit too negative, and also it just reveals that like I'm more and more tired of zombie fiction as time goes on.
Yeah.
Even like outside of like the current kind of situation, I feel like with every I remember watching the first season of The Walking Dead and being really into it, and then like they announced the second season, and I just didn't even consider watching it. I just completely noped out of it. It's just like, yeah, I think I'm done with zombie fiction.
I get the idea. I get the tensions. Yeah. Travis McGaughey says, what was the dumbest thing you honestly believed when you were a kid? I'm not talking about some bull roar an adult pulled on you, rather something you thought was a truth about how things work that sprang fully formed from your mind. For example, I used to believe tiny elves lived in every digital clock and changed around the numbers. I would stare at the clock for long periods of time trying to catch the clock elves in the act. I also believe there was a series of pneumatic tubes crisscrossing the country, connecting every mailbox, and that's how the postal service worked. Well,
That's
Travis,
smart.
it takes all kinds. Does anybody remember believing dumb stuff?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was like 4 or 5 years old, and my dad's a professor. So I saw him like walk and get his PhD. And so he got his doctorate. And so I thought that he was a doctor. So I told everyone I knew that my father was a doctor, even though he never once told me, like he never said anything that would slightly insinuate that he's like going into a clinic or taking care of people.
But I mean, he's a doctor, whatever his last name is, right? Like
yeah.
He is. So you weren't wrong.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Diaz is a pretty sweet name too, so I guess it works out. Suriel, do you have one?
I had one, but it is totally like parent related and then like lying to me kind of thing. So I missed that part of the question. So I don't have like a good one that it's just.
Well, what did your parents lie to you about?
Well, because like I was raised Catholic, and part of that included like having religion being used as a tool to control and like to tell you what to do. And part of it was like we had a bunch of toys because like my dad would go out to garage sales and just buy like for $1 or whatever. He would just buy this bin full of like random toys, and so we would just leave them around everywhere. And so eventually, my mom told me that if I left any toys on the floor, that the devil would take them away. and so we would like, okay, we gotta clean up and make sure they're not there. And then at one point I think my brother was like, no, that ain't true. And so like we went as far as to test it by like, okay, this one, I'm willing to sacrifice this one Wolverine toy by leaving it and I swear to you it is not true. And like, okay, all right, I guess we're gonna do it. And then of course we went back the next morning and it was still there. So it's like, oh, I guess we can just do whatever.
So
real.
So the lesson is that Satan is more of a DC guy, or what?
That's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. He's like, Wolverine. Oh, this is not in mint condition. I don't want this.
Touch it with a 10-foot pole. Satan out. Well, that's cool. I hope he didn't enter your house, Suriel. That would be a real bummer. Let's see. I have a lot of these stupid examples. I remember thinking that I cracked the code as a kid. Where I'm like, okay, well, I can't fly. I really want to fly because I've seen Hook 300 times, but I can't fly. I was like, but I can lift stuff. So if I were like standing on a log and then I bent down and lifted the log, then I'd be flying. And I remember trying it, and that was not the case at all. Believe it or not, it didn't work. And then I was just talking about it. This is not when I was a super dumb kid, but middle school, high school dumb kid. And I was talking about it on the E3 2004 stream, but I remember coming up with this idea of like, oh, if they destroyed every computer on planet Earth, like the internet would still exist. Like, what does that mean? Like, what is the internet? And I remember asking best friend Ronnie's older brother about it, and he's like, what are you talking about, you idiot? No, like the servers have to be up. It wouldn't exist. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew that, right on. I really thought I was outsmarting the system. And it's like, you guys, it's like natural. It'll flow through us forever. No, it won't. Jeff, were you just born brilliant?
No. There was one, when I was a wee little kid, I had a sled that, kind of had a thin rope, or, like attached to the front of it so that you could drag it up the hill or whatever. And my mom told me that she warned me that just when I'm gonna go down the hill, don't let the rope go out in front of it because then the sled won't work anymore because it will go underneath the sled and that will get it caught because of the friction. But I did not understand, and I thought that if the rope ever goes out in front of it, like the sled just will never work again. And so I was super paranoid about that as a kid, and every time I got in, I had to like make sure I had the rope pulled up every time before I went down the hill, and that's probably why I'm as neurotic as I am now. And now I cry anytime I see a sled. So
yeah, that checks out. Yeah,
they made a movie about you once.
Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just thought of another. This one's really embarrassing and bad. But I remember being really, really young, and like using the bathroom in the middle of the night. And apparently I was trying to sit down on the toilet, but like the toilet seat was up. And so I like fell into the toilet and I probably started crying or whatever at this point. And I remember my dad coming in the bathroom and he said, "Oh, don't worry. It happens to everybody." And I remember being so confused about like, why is this happening to I thought he was literally saying that like everybody is required to fall into a toilet.
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah, it was a real Amelia Bedelia situation in the bidet. Amelia Bedelia. I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Rick Velasquez says, hey, with the release trailer for the Resident Evil 8 Village out there now, do you think they will stick with the weird naming convention for Resident Evil 9? If so, what is the word going to be for that one?
Six Flags!
Resident Evil 6 Flags.
I've already bought that game. I'm sold.
It's just like that dancing guy coming towards you with a chainsaw.
But it's like
That's horrifying.
It's like they play the one song they played in all the ads, but it's like the slow, like creepy cover.
Yeah. A group of 16-year-old girls confronts you.
I do also like the idea of them just calling it Resident Evil 6, but being like, no, it's the I and the X that's 9. So
Rick Velasquez guesses it's going to be Resident Evil Crucifix.
Oh, that's good.
No,
That's
pretty
probably
good.
better than Six Flags, I guess.
Resident Evil Transfix. A lot of options.
Resident Evil 6 Afraid of 9?
Number one joke. Kyle Silva says, I have a game for everybody. Which title is better? I'll name 2 alternate titles for the same game. One is a North American title, and the other is a title from a different region, either Europe or Japan. You decide which of these titles wins. Okay. Jeffem, do you prefer Project Zero or Fatal Frame? Which region has the cooler name for that game?
Fatal Frame.
Okay. Anna, Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy?
Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I think Fahrenheit rules. Kyle, oh, this is perfect. You get this one. Do you prefer Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past or the Japanese version, Legend of Zelda: Triforce of the Gods?
I like Link to the Past better.
Really? It's not
Yeah,
epic.
Triforce of the Gods sounds generic high fantasy, but Link to the Past is kind of like there's a little bit of a pun there and implies time travel.
Okay.
You know,
all right. Definitive.
More into that.
Suriel, Spyro 2, Gateway to Glimmer or Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage?
I think Ripto's Rage is probably the better.
It's more
Gateway to
metal.
Glimmer. I don't know what that game is.
Yeah.
Well, you go to the Glimmer. It's very clear.
Oh, that's right. I
There's a
guess.
gateway.
Oh, weird. Jeffem, Star Wing, Star Fox, or Lilat Wars? That game was called Lilat Wars?
It was a trademark issue.
Is that right?
In Europe, Star Fox couldn't be used because it's like a company.
Oh, crazy. All right, Jeffem, if you could rename it.
We're going with Star Fox.
All right, the original. Anna, do you like Shadow of the Colossus or Wander and the Colossus, which is the Japanese version?
Oh, I kind of like Wanderer of the Colossus.
Wander and the Colossus? Yeah. It's confusing.
That one actually is like tough because I like Wanderer in the Colossus, but Shadow of the
They're
Colossus
both very
like,
good.
like a beast.
Yeah.
You know, like something sort of scary.
So you want the Shadow of Wander as the name of Shadow of the Colossus?
There we go. Nailed it.
Wandering in the Shadow of the Colossus.
Wander, Shadow, and Colossus. All
There we
three.
go.
Kyle, do you like Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training, how old is your brain? Or Brain Age, train your brain in minutes a day?
I like the first one.
How old is your brain? Oh,
It's just like those like anime titles are always like, you know, for episodes are always like, this is the one where Goku defeats the villain. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
over-explanatory kind of like.
Goku goes in the cave and finds a secret power in his shoe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Destroy Frieza, the battle at the end of the world.
All right, Anna, this one's for you. I mean, the classic is Earthbound or Mother a cooler name?
I like Mother, just because of like what's in the game. It's like in the game itself.
Yeah. Suriel, do you like The World Ends With You or It's a Wonderful World?
I think The World Ends With You, I think, is more fitting of like what that game is trying to get at thematically.
Interesting. Oh, very sophisticated. Apparently another name for bully is Canis Canum Edit?
Yeah, dog eat dog. Yeah. I
Really?
think in Europe.
Is that Europe thing? Interesting. And apparently Mario Hoops 3-on-3 for the second mention of Mario Hoops in one episode of the MinnMax show. Another name for it.
Your number
Yeah.
one source.
Actually, Anna, this isn't the record. You got to go back and listen to the history because we talk about it almost every episode. It is also called Mario Slam Basketball. Jeffem, do you like Wario Land, the Shake Dimension, or Wario Land Shake It! Exclamation point.
Shake it.
All right, leaving the Shake Dimension behind.
Best YouTube trailer of all time for that game.
Really? What is it?
Well, you would go to like the trailer on YouTube, and it would start out as a normal trailer, but then you realize that the whole site was actually like this HTML5 thing, and so like Wario would be shaking, and then like elements of the YouTube browser would like fall apart because Wario was like breaking it and stuff like that.
That's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
I don't know if you can. You'd have to find someone who like recorded it on screen to like be able to see it. I think at this point, but yeah. That's cool.
Weird. What do you guys like for a question of the week?
I like the weird games from developers question.
Yeah,
That's the one I wrote down too.
I like that one too. Is that a slam dunk, everybody?
I think so. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, sincerely, Eric, for submitting that question over at patreon.com/MinnMax2ends. I'm 8-Bit. We'll ship you out this plushie from Monument Valley. You can use his legs and bend them and attach them to a monitor or whatever you want. So thank you so much for submitting that. And again, just a reminder, if you want to win the Satisfy Grip bundle, which comes with a Switch case, and it genuinely is awesome. You just got to tweet out your favorite piece of MinnMax content with the hashtag GamesFriendsGettingBetter, and then we'll randomly pull from that pool by early next week. So thank you for everybody that contributes to that. And now it's time for Get a Load of This. Jeffem, you got a big one?
No, I got a small one. Get a
Love
load
it.
of this. This was just a little video that I saw online on the internet when I was trying to find something and everything else was depressing social media stuff. But this one really made me laugh. We will just link to it in the description, but it's an Imager video that's titled, "At First, I Thought He Lost a Bet." And the way the video starts is it's a guy in his underwear just kind of dejectedly wading out into a pond in a public park. And I will leave the rest of it as a surprise, but it's a very funny and kind of heartwarming video.
Interesting. Mine is really short as well. Did you guys know that Swaziland isn't a country anymore? That in 2018 they renamed Swaziland Eswatini? Hey,
No.
get a load of this. Renaming countries. I love the name Swaziland, but I guess it's no
We
longer
can do anything we want now. It's 2020.
Game on. Anna?
Someone modded Zelda to be a playable character in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I was watching this really cool, there's this really cool video of Zelda just like completely destroying a one of those guardians. And so
Is she like in her typical blue sort of adventure outfit or a dress?
she's in her wait, let's see here. She's in her blue adventure outfit. It's kind of like a equivalent to Link's blue outfit.
Yeah.
And she has the long hair. It's not like the short hair adventure Zelda that we saw
For
in the
Breath of the Wild
tease.
2.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you follow, Kyle or Anna or anybody, do you follow that Breath of the Wild modding scene? Because it's like a Wii U version that they've cracked on PC at this point?
Yeah. There's a lot. I've seen I actually covered smaller stories like bits and pieces for Polygon. And it's quite active. I mean, that in addition to the speedrunning community, they support each other in a lot of ways, but some other funny mods. Actually, my most popular story ever written at Polygon was about a Breath of the Wild mod where modders changed the game so that you could ride Sidon anywhere. And I just wrote a really lewd headline and it just blew up.
Would you like to share the lewd headline?
Yeah, I don't even remember it direct. It was basically Breath of the Wild's modders made it so you can ride Sidon anywhere, and the deck was giddy up or yeehaw.
Wait, who am I nuts? Who's Sidon?
He's the Zora that helps you out through that part of the game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they made it, but you see him in the air, and you're just riding
weird.
him. It just makes you think about it in another way.
Hey, it's a work of art. It takes all kinds. Kyle, did you have one?
Yeah, I got a good one here. It's someone tweeted a picture of their handheld gaming device, and they said, "So excited I can finally play it," and it's a Vita, and they have Persona 4 Golden pulled up on the Vita's browser, and then on Steam. the Steam version.
Well, that's a very
and then
funny
they have
tweet.
the Persona 4 Golden cartridge.
It went viral, didn't it?
It's really a hilarious tweet from at Serial Vasquez. It
Wow,
has
pronounce it right on the first
1,000 retweets.
How many retweets?
1,000 retweets on that sucker.
Surreal, that's amazing.
Yeah, tell us the story behind that incredible viral.
I just saw the announcment and I thought, like, this is a dumb thing I could do. And I literally just used the Vita's browser to find that Steam page. But I guess people in the thread were like, oh, you must have hacked your Vita to play, to become like a Linux machine. So there's this whole discussion of like, that's illegal. No. What do you do? Like, you're showing yourself doing something illegal. And I was like, well, no, there's like, you can clearly see the the Vita web browser interface in that shot.
Who was the juiciest retweet? Were you tracking who was retweeting that sucker?
It was probably, before I turned off notifications, it was probably Greg Miller.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
That'll boost it. What? He tweeted out the first episode of Pokémon Snap. We got nothing. That show died.
I mean, maybe if you attach like a nice joke and then like the link is just like, we should just start doing viral tweets of like dumb content, but the link is always our content.
Very smart. Very smart. Did you see like impressions or anything? Was there a total number on that?
I think it was over. I mean, I can check it right now, but in the meantime, get a load of this. So I just wanted to quickly highlight the Fight for Racial Injustice bundle, or Fight for Racial Justice bundle over at Humble, which is one of the biggest bundles they've probably ever done. And I mean, there's only one tier because usually Humble bundles will have, it's like pay $1 to unlock these games, or pay $10 to unlock 5 more games. But for $30, you get the following games: Baba Is You, Hyper Light Drifter, the Jackbox Party Pack 4, Spelunky, Football Manager 2020, Kerbal Space Program, Titan Quest Anniversary Edition, Observer, NBA 2K20, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, FTL Advanced Edition, BioShock Remastered, This War of Mine, Endless Space, Armello, Age of Wonders 3, Overlord 2, Surviving Mars, Kingdom Classic, Eastside Hockey Manager, Goner, Blueberry Edition, Overgrowth, Company of Heroes 2, The Ball, Super Time Force Ultra, System Shock Enhanced Edition, System Shock 2, Broken Age, Newt 1, All You Can Eat, A Beginning, A Final Cut, No Time to Explain Remastered, Knights of Pen and Paper 2, Starcrossed, Vertiginous Golf, Earth Knight, Plunge, Pester Quest, Real Politics, Elite Dangerous, My Memory of Us, Mirror Moon AP, In Between, Gunscape Standard Edition,
it's absurd.
Neocab, Regular Human Basketball, Planet of the Eyes, and Crown Takers.
How much is it?
$30. Oh, and Darkest Dungeon, the Shield Breaker, and then like a bunch of books highlighting kind of Black voices, like you get 12 Years a Slave, and a bunch of like, there's
I was confused by that. So you can also just like get ebooks then? Okay.
Yeah. And also Attack on Titan for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, is it Attack on Titan is kind of, it has its own issues. I'm surprised that it would be included in something like that.
I think the book is artists doing their own like art for.
Okay.
Because I looked at that too, and I was like, do I want to read the Attack on Titan manga? Final season coming up on that show. No, that's awesome.
Ridiculously good bundle.
Yeah, that's crazy. Jeff, did you have a community get a load of this pulled from the Discord?
I do. Get a load of this. This one is from Shazira, who was posting a Kotaku article that was pointing to an Itch.io project, which is basically someone made Lee Carvalho's putting challenge from The Simpsons.
Oh, that's it.
That's a good bit.
Yeah. So you can just play through that, which I did, and you know the punchline if you've ever seen that episode, but it's still a fun novelty that you can check out.
That is super fun. Great. Hey, and that's this episode of the MinnMax Show. Thanks to everybody at the $50 tier that supports us on Patreon. I am 8-Bit, BeatenDownBrian, Krista, Nick DeFeo, Rebekah Lang, Zachary Pligge, The Smack, Mark Seliga, Jawarhello, Andrew Vala, Bob Buel. Jeff, you know who comes up next?
BeatenDownBrian.
What?
No, BeatenDownBrian. Jesse Vitelli, of course. Then Mirko Arico-Torreno, TimeBombTom, Yarrow, Josh Elliot, Captain Stubbs 1, Tyler Carver, Michael Jaques, Christian King, Adam Walker, JT Fels, IanTClark, Ludwig Roque, Steve Bamdad, Andrew Sanford, Matthew Paxton, David Lacolucci, Midnight Satire. Again, thanks for your support and keeping this whole indie operation running. Thanks so much, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go!